tomorrow it's gonna rain, we have a rain day. It's like, it's basically gonna be my day off.
Yeah.
It's insane. I don't even know, just like. What's up going on with you?
Yeah.
And the guy working in the field, well,
Yeah.
but if you were have something.
Yeah, that's right. Right, yeah.
We're forming a group, Gil, forming a group called the McGinnis Tree Guard.
Yeah,
And it's gonna be some folks that are gonna be, next year organizing to, we have like a whole, like survey, like census basically, of
Give you
all events.
just
Um,
back up.
McGinnis.
Does that work for you?
How are
You're not worried about the yucca?
Well,
As you.
I think
I'm teasing.
our primary focus is the tree, is the.
Yeah, I'm just.
But, you know, Lincoln is working to get them all planted now,
Yeah.
all the empty tree beds, so, and get all the stumps removed.
Was anybody on there that needs co-host?
But next year we want to.
I'm
trying to
find that.
Yeah, I sent the,
We're not on the Zoom, but.
well, we're not on the Zoom, but I sent our presentation to the email, cb2 at NYC.gov, something.
Oh, yeah.
I could also text the link to someone now if that's.
Yeah,
maybe
Maury.
presented.
Maury, did you get Gil's, presentation that I sent to the transportation committee? Oh.
Just joined in.
Maury, can you hear me?
Oh, hey, yeah, let me check.
Thank
Let's see, the Greenpoint Avenue presentation,
No,
No, it's the Board Avenue update.
revised December 2nd, 2025, is that? it?
Yeah,
Yes,
Borden Avenue update,
yeah.
got it.
perfect.
Are you able to present that at the time?
I have to present it?
You, Maury, yeah.
You want me to present the whole thing?
McGinnis.
I mean,
Just to share it and we.
Just to
Oh,
share it.
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, we'll let you know when the time comes.
Put me on the spot.
Here's a random presentation.
Yeah, I can do it.
You could sign it and just email it back. I can get it out tomorrow.
That would be a great presentation.
When you have a chance.
You want me to sign what?
Oh, I mean.
This is about Bradley Avenue and 37th
I think it's gotta be something like that.
Small
Everybody
business.
come up with a presentation, put them all in there and just like.
Oh, there's a,
pull one, you know,
Right.
It's a little quiet, is that supposed to be
So
something
the
TV or?
McGinnis tree.
So, anyway,
It sounds like color guard. You need somebody to.
well, you know what it is? I was thinking because they used to be the Greenpoint Tree, the Greenpoint Tree Corps.
You have to.
I was like, well, it's kind of like it's a play on that.
Yeah.
And also, you know, ultimately, what I've done, I've done this whole.
For everybody joining us, just give us a couple minutes as we roll in and we'll get the meeting started.
Hello. We did kind of this very extensive tree survey of the block of all of McGinnis. And want to remove the, like, basically kind of what beds have stones, what beds have black guards. And so we're kind of going to be working with doing that next year.
Were you ever riding the west side? Of the West Side Greenway recently? In like October?
No, really should go with. West side. During the day, I mean.
Isn't there a day like, what's this?
I'm good, whenever you're ready.
All right, welcome everybody to December 2nd, 2025. This is the Queens Community Board 2 Transportation Committee meeting, live at the Community Board 2 office and online on Zoom and YouTube. Reaching out to America tonight. I am joined by District Manager Debbie Marco Kleiner and Mary Ann Dorado. Welcome. We have with us a representative from the DOT, Joe Patty. Welcome.
Good evening.
And then a few presentations tonight. Is anybody in the room here for public comment? All right, is anybody online here for public comment? Great, great. In that case, then we will get started. I see committee members online. Yeah, hello, Randy, Patricia, Maury. Sigrid? We'll get started with the first presentation from Gil Lopez and Willis Elkins.
Hi.
So, you
Good
guys
evening.
want to talk? And
Yeah,
Maury, let
have
us
some
know if you
slides.
can share those slides.
so my name's Gil Lopez. I work for a nonprofit called Big Reuse. I'm the co-founder of a couple community gardens in the neighborhood, one on 45th Street, one down by LaGuardia, Smiling Hogs Head Ranch. I'm also a longtime volunteer for the Newtown Creek Alliance on the Solid Waste Advisory Board appointed by the borough president, etc. This is
Oh,
Willis.
hi, I'm Will Selkins. I'm the executive director of the Newtown Creek Alliance and a CB2 resident here in Sunnyside. And yeah, been working on this stuff for a very long time with Gil and others in the community. Yeah.
Nice, welcome. I'm just gonna ask the people online if you can hear them clearly.
All
right.
Up.
Thank you.
Great. So we're going to be talking about a location at the Borden Avenue street end. Borden Avenue is a two-directional road that has separate lanes on both sides of the Long Island Expressway on the east side of the Newtown Creek. The westbound lane ends at the creek, at the Dutch Kill. We can go to our next slide. Just for some perspective on where we're talking about. This is a map, basically of Community Board 2. This map was created by the New Yorkers for Parks. It actually details some of the actionable ideas and solutions that they put in this year's report on green space. You'll see that arrow right there pointing to the location in question. It's actually at the intersection of three major potential greening projects. One is the we can go to the next slide. It's the
Wait,
Bliss.
you're right now located about where 8 is up there.
Oh.
Go back. 8, 16, 8, 6.
Yeah.
Right,
30.
red line, right?
We're closer to 13.
We're at number 13, lucky number 13.
Oh, okay. Oh, all righty, yeah, 36 is Stolen Ave, I guess, or,
8 is at like Doughboy Park.
okay.
We're close.
Yeah.
We're around there. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
right there in Woodside now.
Right,
But
right, that's.
so what we're
I'm saying.
talking about is kind of like on the other more western side. It's right where the Borden Avenue, proposed Borden Avenue Greenway or bike lane, and that connects with the Blissville or what's this? There's another name for that one.
Review Avenue.
Review Avenue Greenway, and it's also kind of at the intersection of the proposed Dutch Kills loop, which me and Willis, along with several other people, are on the steering committee for. But just to get you a little situated in where we're talking about, we can go to the next slide. Good evening. Again, right by the Dutch Kill, near the LaGuardia Community College, between Blissville and Hunters Point. The next slide. So this is a street view of the location that is in question. This is kind of an old image, but where we're talking about, we have an aerial there, but it's part of it is underneath the Long Island Expressway and the other part is in the shadow, so you can't really see it from the aerial view. Let's go to the next slide. I've been working in and around this area as a steward of the Dutch Kill with the Newtown Creek Alliance as a volunteer for a decade. I started cleaning up in 2017. In 2020, I really made this particular spot kind of my COVID project, along with some other friends. A year later, we partnered with the Newtown Creek Alliance. We brought a lot of volunteers out. We got a bunch of dumpsters from DEP. We removed 250 cubic yards of waste, which is basically 7 shipping containers full. Along with boats, there's a guy there who's a relative of somebody who has the site. He was stripping cars, dumping automotive fluids. There's another guy illegally transferring oil, sometimes dumping it into the creek. He got fined for that, what, in 2016 or 17?
2013.
In 2013. He's still there doing his dirt. He just doesn't get caught as often. There's all sorts of people just illegal dumping. There's people who park their work trucks and just dump everything off on the side when they're done. I don't think they have a contract with DOT. But that was the situation we came into. We cleaned up a lot of the site over years, actually. We can go to the next slide. This is kind of what the site looks like right now. On the right in the light green, there is a blocked off road end because there was an accident and some men went into the creek and died. And I think that was spring 2021 or 2. And DOT put up traffic barriers. So now the street is inaccessible. Wow, that was fast. The street is inaccessible and some people have built a skate park. The white rectangles are underneath the expressway. Those are shipping containers and various kind of like abandoned trailers and stuff that people who have been occupying the site for a really long time still have on the site. We've managed to push all the junk from the water's edge back a little bit to the eastern side of the supports holding on up the LIE. Let's go to the next slide. This is the things that we want to do. The Dutch Kills Civic has already come and proposed and got a letter of support from CV2 for transferring the roadbed from DOT to parks and making that a permanent park and having a professional skate park there. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, what? So that's the skate park. It's actually recognized as one of the top 8 DIY skate parks in the world. There's the Broken Bones Skate Club that comes out. It's like little toddlers coming and learning how to skate. And there's, young people, they activate it at night sometimes and have punk and electronic dance parties. It's young people doing young people things. It's actually really beautiful. Let's go to the next slide. Well, do you have anything to add?
Well, I would just say like on the skate park side, like this was, that area was an active roadway, right? And then people were, as Gil mentioned, parking there, doing all sorts of illicit stuff late at night and
Or in the middle of the day.
or in the middle of the day. And so it was not an asset to the community. We were already doing cleanup stuff on the shoreline. We had been taking groups from LaGuardia College a few blocks away to do environmental science programming, but it was not that great. After the car crash, it allowed basically skateboarders to do this DIY, which is not a sanctioned activity, but basically build an informal skate park, an area that was totally closed off. So it actually has become I would say a much safer place because there's people, it's like the Jane Jacobs, right? There's eyes on the street. There's people there that are activating it and using it for, recreational physical activity. So it's really helped transform this spot from something that was like, stay away. You don't know what that guy in that car is doing by himself or with other people to an asset, not just for skateboarders, but an inviting place for the community.
We could go to the next slide. So now we're going to look at the part on the top, which is right next to the Dutch Kill. And you'll see that part of this is like the dead end of the street bed of the street. And then the other side of it is underneath the Long Island Expressway. We have been trying to find out which DOT is control of the site under the expressway for years. We don't know if it's state or city. We've recently heard that it might be federal. But there are uses there that along this waterfront especially have just been dumping. It's trash, toxic poison pollution, and trash. We've been cleaning it up. We actually built a little rainwater detention that captures the rainwater from the road and kind of like lets it sink and feed plants before it goes into Newtown Creek. And been just hosting trying to get regular events where folks come out and see the space. We are proposing that the Newtown Creek take management of this site that's behind the last columns on the land for the elevated structure and really make waterfront access a priority. There is a fence right now that has been constructed by one of the people who supposedly care for the space, they've built a fence to make sure that no member of the public can get to the part of the waterfront that's under the expressway. We want that taken down. We want to provide a boat launch. Let's go to the next slide and I'll
Yeah.
let Willis talk about what we want to do with that space.
So I think in general, for us at Newtown Creek Alliance, a big part of our work obviously is focused on cleaning up the creek, right? It's a federal Superfund site. There's a lot of work to be done in terms of improving water quality, but access is also really core to our mission because Newtown Creek has been completely inaccessible, especially on the Queen side, for many, many decades. And without access, people don't see it, they don't know about it, and there's less stewardship and care for it. So we've looked at key sites like Borden Avenue because it's publicly owned, whether again that's city or state. We know the street end is city, as opportunities to do that. And there's lots of examples from other places around the city where dead end streets have been turned into either pocket parks, and amenities like that. So our goal is to again have investment into the space so it can continue to become more safe, more inviting to the community and an asset, a place where there's already shade from the bridge, but there's trees and there's plants, and it's a place to see the creek and interact with it. And in the coming years, as we have a Superfund cleanup and we have improvements to water quality, this can be a tremendous asset for engaging more safely with the creek itself. So our goal is really to find ways to activate this. Our organization has worked with DOT and other parts of the creek in Maspeth, on the Brooklyn side, in Greenpoint, to do more of the street and transformation. So this is a very obvious site. I'd also say too, the Dutch Kills tributary, it's an extensive waterway, and it's one of the few sections of the creek too where there's no commercial traffic because of this bridge that's the mouth. And so it's actually kind of an ideal place for doing things like canoeing because you don't have to worry about, a tugboat being there and interference with that. And this is the only place where you can access the Dutch Kills tributary. So all those, 20,000 students at LaGuardia, they're a block away from this waterway that is a natural resource. And it once was a thriving, amazing ecosystem, and there's still life there. We found horseshoe crab larvae, like straight in these waters, crabs and fish and herons, and there's a lot going on. So it's really important for us to be able to connect people to that so they can build their own experience. So our goal is, again, to work with DOT in the city and state to be able to steward this shoreline better.
Thank you, Willis. Let's go to the next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about the part of the property that's under the expressway, east of the columns. This has been occupied, it's still occupied by people who have just as much right to occupy it as I do. And I would like to use it as a horticultural community space where Big Reuse, who currently has a contract to plant 150 trees, street trees on the sidewalks in New York City. And we do hundreds of street tree care events with New Yorkers across the borough. Well, we don't work in Staten Island yet. And we don't have a yard. We used to have a yard under the Queensbridge. It got taken away because composting isn't something Parks wants to do. We don't have a yard. We need a place. We are participating in a land-based movement of stewardship and care for our environment. And we need a place to store mulch. We need a place to park a truck. We need a place to keep trees overnight when we get deliveries from nurseries. We need a place to do all these things. And this would be a really great place to do it. We can move on to the next slide. This isn't a huge space. It's actually, I think, just a little bit smaller than the space we had under the Queensbridge, but it could provide a lot of space to provide a lot of resources to groups doing community greening throughout the city, especially here in Queens, as well as support the work that we're doing with those community groups all over the place. So let's go to the next slide. We know that there is a need for the people that lease the building to park their cars. So we understand there's an easement under this expressway where Sparks Deli, has deliveries of their food and stuff, and those Crystal Comfort HVAC contractors park their trucks and stuff. But there's also some people just honestly living there. and claiming that they're taking adverse possession of city land, which is not, you can't legally do that. I know a little bit about squatting laws and that doesn't happen, but right now we're in kind of like a butting of heads to say who's going to use the land. We have someone who is a scrapper and wants to bring all the trash that they get and just dump it because it's cheaper to dump it than to pay for it to be dumped. And it seems a little bit lawless, but let's go to the next slide. Because there are some current considerations, the DOT has come around in the past couple months, and they have told the people there that you have to move everything away from the columns because we're going to come and clean the rust and repair this structure. They haven't given a timeline on that, but they have the people who are there a little frantic. And I'll be honest, I've been waiting for this moment. I'm ready for DOT to come clean that structure. I'm ready for them to clear out everything that needs to be cleared out, and I'm ready to move in community resource and waterfront access whenever DOT is done with that work. And that's the big reason that me and Willis are here tonight, because we want to advocate for community use of this public land and for it to stop being used malfeasantly by whoever stumbles across it and finds free parking for their commercial trucks. Granted, I'm asking for some free parking, but I'm not a for-profit business. I'm providing environmental programming with city discretionary funding from local council members. And we just don't have in our budget to pay $90,000 for a lot to park a truck every year. So there's other things, the DOT recent, there's the pump house that just got finished across the way. They're starting to remove the construction fencing. There are some people who have parked their lowboy tractor trailers there for years, and they couldn't make that turn because of that construction fence, and they are chomping at the bit to come and have their free parking back. So we anticipate some folks coming back into the space now that this construction across the street is done. And we would really love a little bit of coordination with the people who are responsible for this place, the city, DOT, whether it's the city or state or federal, to really like do something productive with the space as opposed to just let it continue to be trashed. And me and dozens of other volunteers spend countless hours cleaning up after people so that we can have a place to be and other people can feel comfortable in the space. Am I missing anything?
Well, the last thing is that, there's a series of sections underneath the LIE as it goes from basically Greenpoint Avenue, right, towards the Dutch Kills and over into the Midtown Tunnel. And so those other sections have been, one was taken over by DOT. It was just open parking, and now it was turned in, I think, in 2024 into a storage facility for DOT for their barriers. And then there was another section that was recently leased out to Silvercup Studios for parking. And I think that our concern is this last sort of section near the water, the one that we're most interested in supporting community use. We do feel like, as Gil explained, it's the Wild West with various entities and individuals using public land for whatever they want. But we would also like to be able to have a conversation with the city, with DOT, of what's some value that could happen with this space. So, as much as we want it cleaned up in some order, we also don't want it turned into another storage yard for DOT. We feel like there's tremendous value specifically in this space. So that's really why we're here. As Gil mentioned, we've been working at this site for many, many years, but we have no authority at this space, right? Public land, we've reached out multiple times to DOT over the years to try and work more with the agency. And so that's what we want to accomplish.
We've cleaned this land up and sometimes received threats of violence for doing so by local actors. And it's time for this to move from like a vigilante effort into a coordinated community response. We have one more slide. We have like a little bit of support from different people. This project was mentioned specifically in Donovan Richards' Borough President report on urban sustainability, both this year and a couple of years ago. The Dutch Kills Loop is part of a plan that grew out of community and grew from a collaboration with Newtown Creek Alliance and the Riverkeeper, a larger, more regional organization, and the Waterfront Alliance recently did a report and they identified this particular spot out of the 5 boroughs as one of the, was it 4 or 5 kind
There
of
was one each borough,
low hanging fruit? This was the one that they chose for Queens. This is like most actionable, lowest hanging fruit to activate a waterfront and give more waterfront, public green waterfront access.
And then, you know, I think in closing, like we presented a lot, right? We're interested in the skate park becoming more formalized. We're interested in improvements to the waterfront. We understand those are long-term, you know, transfer of land from one agency to another, capital investment. Those are big asks. We are, you know, very thankful that CB2 has already seen this presentation, thanks to our friends at Blissville Civic, who are pushing for that. But again, as Gil mentioned, we feel like there's a little bit more urgency with the space under the bridge, given the history of kind of lawlessness there and concern about what's going to happen. So we really want to work again with CB2, our elected officials and DOT to come together on figuring out the best path forward for that space. That's what it used to look like.
That's the historic.
Thank you so much. Thanks for presenting that to us. Makes a very clear case and, we appreciate all the work that you guys have done, cleaning space up. Eric for, I'm gonna open it up to the committee, for questions that you guys may have. Ross?
You mentioned at the very end, Blissville Civic and our friends there. And, they have been, they brought this to our committee initially as park space, and I think if you go through all our records of the community board and doing the one LIC parks was a major need for this kind of space. So I can't imagine that we would be anything but enthusiastically supportive. And especially if you're working with the Blissville people so that they will have, you know, some park space, you know, that seems really important. So I guess the other question is one that I'm famous for. How can we help?
Yeah. So I think that you guys have already written a letter of support for creating park space here. I think
On the road beds.
on the road bed. I think what we're asking for is additional help with the space underneath the bridge. And so I think one would be clarifying ownership of the land. And obviously,
Do that. How does that happen?
I would say that CB2 should write a letter to city DOT to confirm the ownership of the land. We've pursued this in years past and we haven't gotten
I actually
Burn
came and
answer.
gave a presentation in winter
Yeah,
2022,
right.
23 to land use, transport and environment and the overall committee. And I was connected with the Queens DOT person that was at the transfer meeting. And they,
I mean, the borough presidents, so,
you know, like the someone at DOT.
or DOT, like,
And they were less than helpful. I after the meeting, we were connected over email and I asked a couple questions. One of like, who manages the spaces, this city or state DOT? And they couldn't answer it. And then they left their post and went to Manhattan and said that they haven't been replaced, so no one will be able to answer any of my questions. That was 3 years ago.
are you the replacement?
I've been.
So now we have a replacement.
Yes.
I-
I mean, a lot of it is new to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I learned a lot through the rezoning process about some of the open space needs and some of the, you know, who manages what land in Long Island City. I know under the LA specifically, it's a mix of city and state. I don't know about this one particular location, but that I can look into. And yeah,
Well-
I know that I'm sure there's been plenty done before I've been here, so.
I know that DOT has been around lately, and they have told the people that were there that they have to move everything from away from the columns. But that's all the information I can get. The folks who are there need to hoard information and gatekeep it in order to protect their livelihood. And one of them is openly hostile towards me. So they're not gonna tell me what the date is for the construction to start. If they even know. But if there's a timeline for repairs of that structure, I think transparency with the public is simple and it would help our cause out a lot. And if there's requirements for what kind of machinery and access you're gonna need to the space while you're doing that repair and cleaning work, that would also be very useful in preparing the space for that. Unless DOT is gonna come in with a big bulldozer and just move everything themselves. But what we're offering is to help, and we hope to get help in return.
Yeah, I mean, from what you're telling me, it sounds like they're doing some type of rehabilitation of the actual structure. I mean, because it's the LIE, that's state roads, so that I would be more concerned that would be state doing that. I would have to look into that because I don't know what projects they would be doing, so I wouldn't know any kind of timeline or anything they're doing, and I'm sure, working with state DOT is a little strange, but.
I've never worked with state DOT, but you have, and I would lean on your expertise, and this is one of the reasons why I come to this meeting, because I don't work with the DOT. I mean, I plant trees on the street, but I get my permit from parks. I don't really work with the DOT. So we need the expertise of the people in this room and the people that we know in order to work in a good way towards achieving this community project. Because we know a lot of people, we're very well-resourced people, but we don't know all the people, and we don't know all the bureaucratic steps that we need to take to find out what the state agency has to do. We don't even know, we haven't even been given a straight answer if it's the state agency that operates, that manages the land underneath. I feel like I've been given a runaround a little bit, and I've had a lot of patience, and we're at a moment where we have a new mayor, and looks like the bridge improvements are coming sooner. And I feel like it's time to stop fighting and start building. I'm really ready and excited.
Thank you, Corey.
I,
So it seems like there's, maybe a couple tiers of asks, right? I think the simplest one is the transparency, right? Even if it's a NISDOT project, this is, a project in New York City, it's adjacent to a city controlled road. They're likely partnering and they're sharing information on that level. So I think it's pretty uncontroversial. I think we could ask for just, hey, please share the timeline here and share, where the ownership, edges are. Because I think, this kind of reminds me of when the MTA did their Queens bus redesign and they were going to shut down a bunch of bus stops. And there were some advocates like Tri-State and Transportation Alternatives that were saying, hey, if you don't have a plan for what's going to fill these bus stops, they're just going to absorb parking and cars, right? And that might not be the highest and best use for those spaces, right? And there was a moment that was sadly missed where we could have transformed those spaces for public benefit, and it wouldn't just be a taking away of a bus stop, right? And I feel it's a similar kind of situation, right? There's a project happening, there's a moment of change, you guys have a proposal for what to do with it, and it benefits everyone just to know what the time frame is, right? So I think that first ask, I would be happy making a motion for it. I'll put that aside. Okay, whatever. I think the second ask is, do we support your full vision for this whole area, right? I personally do support it. I think this particular area has a desperate need for more permeable surface. It's right by the watershed, right? Like that is a super sensitive area. To me, this seems like a very good use. We've supported the tree plantings. How can you support the tree plantings without supporting the infrastructure to allow those tree plantings to expand? So I'd probably like to make maybe two motions. They could go to the same letter, but the first one would be a motion to write a letter formally asking New York City DOT to work with NISDOT and provide a publicly visible document explaining the timeline for this bridge rehabilitation work and the respective ownership of the plots in question.
An easement for adjacent property.
And easement for adjacent property. Friendly amendment accepted.
are we at the point of entertaining motions? I mean, because if so, I want a second.
Oh, yeah. I think a little more discussion,
Okay.
but yeah.
Yeah, we already
but-
discussed the motion.
Yeah, we can discuss the
Discuss the motion.
motion. Randy,
It's a motion.
So I found the NY State DOT project at hand. I put it in the chat. It's pin X22876 to repair and clean the LIE, and it's stated that I dropped the URL there. It's stated to go to bid in 27 and be complete in 30.
Okay,
And so that's the current status.
great. Thank you.
thank you.
Motion rescinded.
Well, it'd be good to confirm that.
And easements, right?
Yeah.
Are still,
$130 million.
I just have a question about the portion under the bridge that Big Reuse would be using. Is there public access there? Is there more public benefit than just serving Big Reuse so that they can serve the community elsewhere? Just because
Yeah.
we're talking about
I hope so.
needing more parkland, needing more green space, and I don't want it to be closed off, to open this up to Big Reuse only and then it's closed off.
I think similar to the site that we used to have under the Queens Bridge and every site that we've operated for composting, this will not be a composting site. I don't anticipate this being a composting site, but we will have heavy machinery and we won't have public coming in and out. There's also restrictions for public access under bridges for parks. But aside from that, we do, just like we did under the Queens Bridge, anticipate having environmental educational programming, volunteer opportunities to do different things. And I really want people to be able to come pick up a truckload of mulch or compost or a garden blend or bags, whatever they can fit in their car or bike basket or whatever they have. And from this site where it's stored and aggregated, and people can make an appointment, come pick up and do their greening projects in other areas. Yeah, I really do hope to have workshops where we teach people how to make soil blends, how to, start trees from seeds. Just also, I could go on about the environmental education workshops that I want to do in this space, and that's not even the part by the creek, which I'm super excited about too. But yes, I don't think it would be publicly open like all hours of the week, but I think there would be programming that happens during specific times and kind of general hours where people can come and pick up materials for their greening projects.
Thanks. And would the same be true of the Newtown Creek portion that?
Well, yeah, I mean, our function there on the shoreline would be different. It would be more of it's an open space already. You can walk down to the water, you can get as far as that makeshift fences.
Yeah.
And so our goal there is we have agreements with DOT for other sites around the creek where we do trash pickup and light landscaping. So it'd be the same thing. We'd be doing maintenance of the space and it would be open to the public as a shoreline as it is now, just better maintained. Yeah, and same thing, we would use it for programming, events, et cetera. But we're not looking to move in materials or, do sort of heavy operations like Big Reuse. Newtown Creek Alliance, we're supportive of Big Reuse using the space underneath the bridge for their operations.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I see an opportunity for like creating that border between the two with shipping containers and there used to be like an edge shed at the North Brooklyn Boat Club that the LaGuardia Community College Environmental Science and other people use, and it's no longer there. I would love to have an environmental education that's specifically about the creek and it be facing the creek, on the creek. There could be an opportunity to make a boat launch and have human-powered boating. There could be a shipping container or two that has kayaks and canoes right there under the creek, under the expressway. There's lots of opportunities. I am getting ahead of myself. I'm not proposing that we're going to do that, but those are like early ideas for what this space could provide the public.
Yeah. All right, excellent. Thank you. May I ask, Big Reuse is nonprofit status?
Completely, yes. Nonprofit all the way.
Is there a board or?
Yes, there's a
Yeah.
board of directors.
Okay, cool.
We have an executive director and a board, mostly local folks.
Thank you. Excellent. Leadership. And Patricia,
If it turns out that
Can't hear
the,
we can't hear you.
can't,
Very soft.
Barely hear you.
if it turns out that the state DOT isn't picking up the cleaning until 2027, is there some program that the city DOT can get into in order to ease the transition to the state and not have nothing happen for another whole year?
If the state's contract isn't gonna go to bid until 2027. Is there something that the city DOT could do to do something with the space in the meantime? And I would again, not just to do something with the space, but stop the people who are physically threatening the public who enter the space from doing so and dumping their trash there.
Right, I think that's really important.
I mean, I can speak on that a little bit. I mean, I can't really say much about the actual space off street. I have to check myself who actually owns the space. So that would depend on what the action will be. If someone's actually like camped out there and having all this stuff, they're having some kind of encroachment there. I think it really depends on what the ownership of the space is. In the interim for the actual roadbed, like the on-street space, I know there's talk about, you know, transferring that over to parks. I know that conversation was just started with CV2. There was a letter sent recently. I haven't heard that Parks has any interest in taking it over, but I will say that city DOT does have some stuff in our toolkit anyway, kind of activate space. It's like, we have our open streets program, we have our plaza program. And it sounds like you and there's other stakeholders in the area that would be willing to, you know, take on the space in some type of way. So I think that's a larger conversation we can have for more short-term benefits to the area while we explore like ownership and the rest of the off-street space. So I think that's where we should start the conversation with this.
I will note that we met with Pat Coda Smith, who is a professional skate park designer and had a hand in the DIY skate park that is there. And he is very interested in improving the space more, adding planters and greenery and just making it more accessible to more people.
Are you proposing that this could be a plaza space, for instance, even though it's a dead end?
I think, yeah, I think this is something we could explore, whether it be an open street or like, it all depends on the location, what we would want to go for at first. Like, you know, some plazas and open street start off as just like single events and then they turn into something more. So I think that's a conversation, you know, obviously we want more of it. You know, there are other dead end streets in the city that have turned into, you know, very successful open streets and even plazas at some point. So I think that's a really good starting point for this that we can start off with.
Anything that protects it from the encroachment.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Maury.
Yeah, Gil came to land use the other week and I was there.
Yeah, let me see if I can,
Can you hear me?
hold on.
It's really low. We're gonna try to turn the volume up.
I don't think this speaker out of there. Is it supposed to come out of here?
Turn up the volume.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's got like a real good place.
I'll use the proper mic.
Wow.
Let's see. So Gil was at land use the other week and grateful for his presentation there, and it's great to see him. And yeah, I think this is important that, you know, as much access to public owned property that's safe and access and should be safe and accessible. So I'm totally in support of that. We know that Gil and his team have been great throughout the community, and Newtown Creek Alliance as well. And you know, the city, the parks have come to us already, and at land use asking for, you know, spaces that can be park area or pocket parks. So I think this is a great opportunity for us as a community board to really, as is stated in our budget priorities, it's like number 3, I think, is public space. So this is totally in keeping with what the community wants. The only thing I would add to this, just because I have the opportunity to say it now, is especially since Newtown Creek Alliance is here, there's that spot near the cement factory, that near the bulkhead that's collapsing. I had suggested that as to the parks when they were looking for areas to acquire, to look into that. They had asked me if there was any update from Newtown Creek Alliance on what they had proposed in that area, and I'm just curious if you could share any updates on that.
Sure. Thanks for that. So 29th Street, section. There's actually a photo of it in the slides, but right across the street from the new plaza at LaGuardia, there's a collapsed bulkhead. It's a very complicated site because it's used as a public street, but it's technically owned by Long Island Railroad. So there's no sidewalks there. There's no like parking regs, all the sort of things that DOT would typically have on a public street don't exist. And the shoreline collapsed a number of years ago. And if that were a private property, they would have a lot of liability with the state for allowing their shoreline to collapse. However, state agencies are apparently exempt from those penalties. So we've had regular conversations with Long Island Railroad about it. They are definitely like don't want to own that space anymore. They've been very clear with us about it. There's no major updates. We had a big rally in 2023 at the site. We had support from CB2, from LaGuardia, all the electeds were there, and nothing much has changed. We're still pushing forward that vision. We've been in conversation with, Congressman Velasquez's office. They've been trying to get some funding for it. I would say the one thing that's happening is that the DEP, the long-term control plan, they are going to be acquiring part of that area for the sewer tunnel. And so we are in the next, 3 to 6 months, Newtown Creek Alliance, we really want to put together a solid campaign around specific sites that DEP is going to be acquiring as part of this project that we feel like could be more than just an access shaft going down to a tunnel, but could be public access and public amenities. So there's no major update in terms of what's happening. There's no control over the street. There were barriers put up to prevent people from parking next to the decrepit shoreline, and people moved the barriers, and it's still in really bad state of affairs. But I'm happy to talk more.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you, because I remember we at CB2, with Debbie's help, we organized that rally with you guys, and
Yeah.
we had a bunch of people from the community board. We coordinated with some of the political officials.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, because one of the big questions about that area was the cement factory that has started to encroach on public property. And do you know if anything was ever found out of who owns the land, whether it was MTA or DOT or who?
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, when you look at the tax maps, you can see that the concrete company, a section of the land they occupy is owned by Long Island Railroad. It's a curved section because of the rail used to be curved. So, and we've talked with the Councilwoman's office, and she's been very, interested in that, but we haven't had any engagement. And when we talked to, just for transparency, when we talked to MTA, Long Island Railroad about it, the last conversation we had maybe a year or two ago, they did not express any interest in pursuing removal of that encroachment. So it's again something that we want to continue to push on with help with CB2, and we feel like this DEP project is maybe a good opportunity to do that. And I see Tom Blissville Zone here has had a couple of comments in the chat, so thank you, Tom, for all your support on this. And I would just say I think one of Tom's comments is about we're here, Gil and I are here tonight not to overstep what Blissville Civic is already asking for, but to add an addendum to that. So we're in close, coordination on our goals here.
Yeah, Tom was also at the table with Willis and I and Pat Coda Smith from the skate park when we kind of put the outline for this presentation together.
Yeah.
We're working to build coalition. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. I want to accent and amplify what everyone else is doing, as long as they're doing it in a good way for public community access and environmental stewardship. And I will mention that site that was just in discussion on 29th Street is part of the Dutch Kills Loop. And we do hope to connect the site we've been talking about tonight to that site with the Greenway. You'll probably see me and Willis here in the future talking about other little parcels and pieces that connect the dots.
Awesome, thank you. We have a couple more presentations, so I'm gonna think along. There is a motion on the floor. You want to restate your motion or?
All right, yeah, so it'll be two, motion to, formally request NYC DOT investigate and share a map showing the respective ownership and easements of the land parcels in question, relative to this presentation. And,
That was,
yeah, that's enough, it's good.
okay, yeah, any more discussion on that? Last second.
Oh,
Is that
second.
seconded? Yeah, sorry. Any more discussion on that one?
I mean, I'm splitting these up in case the vote, people disagree on the full vision.
Sure.
But
So that's
if it feels like we have some consensus, I can merge them into one motion, but I think this is pretty uncontroversial.
all right, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Okay, that motion passes.
So the second motion is to, I guess, an addendum to our formerly voted letter of support, and, embrace the whole vision that's been presented here, for the repurposing of this land underneath the LAE.
Sure. Seconded? Okay, any discussion?
One sort of a question, I don't know if it counts as discussion or not, but it seems to me that because DOT is being somewhat removed from under the 59th Street Bridge, that there might be looking to this area to park and store their trucks and other equipment. Do you suspect that might be in the cards, any of you? Or am I just,
I don't believe
I don't
that
think
there was-
DOT
I
has
don't-
much underneath the Queens Bridge that they really need to relocate. Not in the
except all
park.
the employees parking or what?
I don't believe that much has been
Okay.
agreed upon to be
Huh?
removed. I don't think much has been agreed upon to be removed. The bridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Is that-
Well, more reason to get some good, solid community infrastructure there.
If I were to complicate my own motion, I think the only concern that I could see someone having is like, it's a favoritism, right? Like we're choosing someone to take ownership, and maybe there should be like a full RFP process, or something, right? Personally, I like the proposal. I think they've demonstrated that they're good stewards. They've done the work on the volunteer level, they want to formalize it. Skate park is popular and effective for getting kids involved, right? Like, so I don't have any concern there, but I think it's worth at least venturing. If people do have good concern, I would be open to a friendly amendment to do that, but I don't personally think it's necessary.
Include some request for a legal review as to whether it's necessary to, I mean, if we know what the ownership is or what steps we have to take to get the Long Island Railroad to push back or what, is there any method that we could do that to get the cement, also the cement?
But to have that in,
Yeah, I mean, that's,
is that contiguous with this, or I'm not.
No,
It's a
Yeah,
different
I'd like to keep
area,
that
yeah.
separate from this, yeah.
yeah.
But
I think your point is correct. I think, we want the space to be used in the way as described without. I don't know, can we say like these organizations should be the ones? This committee, I think, is aligned with the organizations.
So we can just
in
say
this
we support the
instance.
vision.
We support the vision and they should be at the table for the development of this land for public use and cleanup.
Do you have any idea of any other nonprofits that might want to compete with you?
Yeah, we're your competitors.
Well, I would just say, like, on
Go on as dredgers too far away. Or
On-
go on as a non-service here.
Yeah, I would say like for Newtown Creek Alliance, we're, our goal is about what happens to the space, how it serves the community. If an entity like LaGuardia Community College, who we work closely with, was like gung ho about using the space, we would be all for that. It's really not, it's not about us as an organization, it's about the end goal. So I don't know of anyone else who's vying to take care of this shoreline area, but that's for Newtown Creek Alliance.
Maybe I think my suggestion about getting a legal review might be appropriate if you can leave it into the language.
Of just like the best way to
Yeah, and what
move
the
it
options
from.
are of some of them.
Yeah,
So
good
do we really have to do something formal or not? There's no formal.
So I could,
I'm sorry.
oh, please.
I'll tell you that there's not really any competitions for the street tree program at Big Reuse currently. We're currently being considered by the Parks Department to be the first nonprofit street tree installer. We will have others hot on our heels. The Hort, the Lower East Side Ecology Center.
So I mean, I guess we can just, I think we can just say, you know, that we support the vision of converting this space to public benefit, and we support the vision presented today of these uses. We don't have to necessarily say like we're invested in this particular nonprofit.
No, but I think what we're seeking is some legitimizing. I mean, even the skate park, if it could get, you know, right now, it's just sort of, it's not quite a guerrilla operation, but it's.
Well, that's part of the vision, right?
Yeah.
It's to formalize
It's
a
real.
skate park.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
Well, but I'd like
everything
to-
there right now is gorilla.
Maybe that's part of the spirit of it, but we'd really like to give you some.
Well, we want to
security
move
and-
forward because right now, Big Reuse is not involved with the space. I am, but not as an employee of Big Reuse. Newtown Creek Alliance is tangentially involved, but they're not gonna go claim stake on something that they don't have a license with. We wanna move forward with the officially working through nonprofits with the city or the state to provide community resources on community land.
So,
I can move forward as Gil Lopez and do what I've been doing, but that's not really gonna be that's not the proposal. What we're coming here is like actually codifying what we've been doing.
Maury, you just had a point there that might help us out. You wanna say?
Oh, you're muted.
Can't hear you though.
Oh, you're muted, yeah.
Sorry about that. The land use committee, did draft a letter, that they shared out, with other members of the land use committee to work on. Does it make sense to combine that between the committees?
is that letter following a similar, like this, yeah, different, okay, yeah, I didn't realize that, so I'm happy to.
Yeah,
It makes sense, that makes it so much easier. All right. Yeah, friendly amendment accepted, so we'll just join on to land use committee's letter, is my motion.
Yeah, and Maury, did they come to the same conclusion in their motion?
Debbie, did you see the draft?
I think Permit is working on it.
Permits, yeah, he shared something that I saw. I think it was kind of talked about the timing being urgent to maintain and rehabilitate. Bottom line was to work directly for all those reasons. Queens CB2 Land Use Committee urges NYC DOT, NYS DOT, and US DOT to work with Big Reuse and the Newtown Creek Alliance to establish necessary licenses, permissions, and interagency coordination required to realize the public vision. We ask agencies to prioritize public access, environmental restoration, and community stewardship when determining future use of this land.
I think that sounds perfect.
That's great.
That's great.
Friendly amendment accepted.
You're-
Okay, so, if I may restate.
Yes, please.
A motion to send a letter to whatever Maury just said, to convert the space to, public use under the stewardship of those already there for use of the, skate park, Newtown Creek Alliance, and, future use by Big Reuse, the people who have cleaned up the land.
Specifically,
But for the point of this committee to, sign on to land uses letter, as long as
look,
it aligns with what I've just said.
the uses in question, for the purpose of this motion, are formalizing a skate park built and managed by NYC Parks, establishing waterfront access for education and recreation, establishing space under the LIE for community horticultural services with a focus on street trees, and continuing access for adjacent businesses like Sparks Deli and Board Avenue. So that's listed here. But that's the cliff notes, right? Okay.
Okay,
Motion is so made.
all right. It's been seconded. Any more discussion?
I'm just wondering if a little whereas at the beginning of this, whereas the Newtown Creek Alliance bakery use and skateboard people have through diligent work over the last 3 or 4 years demonstrated a faithful commitment to this effort or stewardship. We, because it is, that's what is
Sure.
earning your chops here. I've been down there.
Yeah.
I did a
And-
little bit
and-
of moving.
And whereas our district is in desperate need of open space and
Yeah.
street trees.
Second, yeah, okay, that,
Okay,
send that on to Prameet, we can ever move on from me.
all right, so as long as that's clear to the committee, we'll take a vote. All in favor of that, which essentially is signing on to what Maury was just said about the land use letter. Which is to convert the space to public park. And to support its current uses by those who have reclaimed it. All in favor? Looks like everybody. Yep. Great, motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank
I do
you.
have to move on very
Yes.
quickly. We really appreciate you guys
Sorry.
taking stewardship of a space that has, been polluted and opening it up for hopeful public use, green space at some point, and we'll do everything we can, which includes pestering our elected officials to do something here. As I saw Tom Matus do so often with Master Park, the Kosciuszko
Yes.
Bridge, and now we have a wonderful skate park there.
Yeah.
Professional.
Great, thank you. Thank you guys. You're welcome to stay and you're welcome to see the
I'm
next
gonna
thing.
stay for great.
We've got a bike.
Next
We've got a
presentation,
bike.
reimagining
Yeah.
Green Point Avenue. Yeah, hello.
Hello, my computer battery is at 15%, so that's gonna keep me honest and quick. Meryl Laborde is also here from from Brooklyn CB1. But my name is Kevin Lachera. I am a advocate in Greenpoint. I do a lot of street safety and public space organizing in the neighborhood. Worked on the McGinnis Boulevard project, kind of a major roadway redesign in my neighborhood. And now we are turning our eyes towards Greenpoint Avenue as another very, very dangerous corridor in Brooklyn CB1, but one that stretches obviously through to Queens CB2, right? It's a major roadway in Greenpoint, but also in Blissville and in Sunnyside, connecting all the way to Queens Boulevard. If I could have permission to share my screen, I can bring up the presentation. It's just Kevin.
The yellow K.
There you go.
And if my computer does die, Meryl has a backup computer. So I'm going to speak to some of this, and I guess Meryl and I will kind of.
Did you share this PDF?
I did share this PDF. I think I did.
Privileges.
Okay. Great. Great. Okay, great. So you can pop through it like this. So as I said, my name is Kevin, and we're talking about Greenpoint Avenue. This kind of covers not as in-depth on the Queens side. We do talk about some of the stuff that's on the Queens side. I know there's also stuff that's in the Sunnyside presentation that that Western Queens TA is going to be speaking about. Riley had asked me specifically to kind of like talk about what we're doing on our side. We're talking to our elected officials. We're looking at kind of the different stretches block by block. And asking the board to kind of support a larger process. So, to kind of start it on your own, folks have already been talking about it here, I know. But as we are kind of collecting letters from our elected officials for you all to do the same, but just to kind of look at it in its entirety, because we do think there's a lot, speaking about the next administration, we do think there's a lot of opportunities to be addressing this in a meaningful way with the next administration coming in. So anyways, here we are. Greenpoint Avenue stretches all the way from Transmitter Park in Greenpoint over here, all the way up to the intersection with Queens Boulevard, right up over here. Why it matters, it is one of the most dangerous corridors in our respective communities. It's a wide roadway, difficult to cross, dangerous, speeding, the industrial traffic. It's a missing link in the connected bike network. Whether you're thinking about the north-south bike lanes that are in Greenpoint, or Queens Boulevard bike lanes that have been so invested in, or the investments that are coming in on review, or in on review, the DOT has fought so hard for. This is, and I have a map in a little bit that shows that missing link. And it's a deeply substandard experience. We talk about the bike network, but also for public transit users, for pedestrians, the visibility at corners, the number of crashes, right? It's unpleasant for everyone. It's an unpleasant road to drive, right? And so no matter where you're approaching this from, it is a roadway that desperately needs that redesign. It's also a real opportunity, and I think about the work of Newtown Creek Alliance and Gill, Big Reuse and Blissville Civic, and so much of the amazing work that's happened on both sides of the creek, on open spaces and green spaces. And it's a real opportunity to connect those green spaces across our neighborhoods. Yeah, so speaking about safety, I guess, Meryl, if you want to jump in a little bit here.
Sure. So when we started talking about this in Greenpoint, this includes crash data for both sides of the bridge. But we realized it is a super dangerous corridor, like Kevin said. It's really unpleasant for everyone, and it feels dangerous using it. So on our side of the bridge, there was a cyclist killed, or a moped rider killed right at the base of the bridge at Kingsland and Greenpoint in 2023. And then there was another death on the Queen side of the bridge. I'm not sure when that happened. But we also have a motorist death, or sorry, that's the other death. There's a motorist death in Queens, tons of injuries, pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. It's just a really dangerous corridor, especially for a fairly short stretch of roadway. So these are some of the news articles specifically about the Queens injuries. So some cyclists and pedestrians injured. Either side of the bridge, it looks the same. It's just like a crash every few days, an injury every 5 days. And there was a 2015 redesign that primarily what it was designed to do was increase vehicle throughput. And what it ended up doing was increasing injuries significantly. And on the Brooklyn side, this is both Brooklyn and Queens. On the Brooklyn side, it's actually higher. Those numbers are even worse. And that's where most of the changes were. But if you look at the entire corridor, a 63% increase in injuries is unacceptable. DOT should have already come back to this and said, we made this street unsafe. We need to figure out how to fix it. So they haven't done that. We decided to start asking them to do it.
Something I just want to also just baseline here, which I think is important. It's important for, what was your name? Joe. Joe? Yeah, Joe. I think it's important for Joe to hear, and it's important for you all to be aware of, which was that after that death, his name was Oscar De La Rosa, and he was hit and killed December 7th, 2023, at the base of the Greenpoint Avenue Bridge at Kingsland and Greenpoint, at an intersection that we had talked about many, many times as very, very dangerous when you're coming off the bridge in either direction. And after that death, there was a big push from our elected officials on the Brooklyn side. Lincoln Ressler really pushed, and Brooklyn DOT agreed that a change needed to be made over the bridge itself and at the intersections on either side. And what we were told, what our council members told, was that Queens DOT, and you weren't there, so not your fault. But it was Queens DOT that was the roadblock to this being solved and fixed. And maybe that is because there was active work that was happening on review at the time, and they were moving in that direction. But that it was the Queens DOT proper that was not receptive to those changes. On the Blissville side, and I'm on the Greenpoint side all the time, I think the Blissville side is even worse. That of the chaos on the other side, right? And so, I think that's very important to know that there was a death on our side, and we had asked for the full redesign at that time. And that was the answer that we used. So I think it's, again, just
Yeah.
not to put you on the spot, but that's what we know.
What time is it? Like when, around what time? is it?
That was December, it was January of 2023. Sorry, January of 2024.
Okay.
There might have been nobody in your job at the
That
time.
was when I started.
January of 2024.
Your fault, Joe.
Well,
You're getting your organization that way.
either way, what came of this, and this has CB2 district needs, but in 2024, the CB1 Transportation Committee worked really hard to amend their district needs statement, really update it and do a lot of work. And because of this experience, one of the primary corridors they outlined was Greenpoint Avenue, and they basically said they identified it as a district need. Existing conditions on Greenpoint Avenue create a high level of conflict between all users, heavy commercial traffic, industrial activity, and its use as a critical bike route. The existing bike lane is substandard and unprotected. So I guess, Meryl, if you want to, we can kind of speed through some of this because it's less relevant to you guys, but this is just kind of there are, just like on this side, the conditions change between different stretches. So Provost McGinnis.
And so, yeah, when we presented this, and I will say I'm not representing the community board tonight, other than I can speak to, like the work, like the walkthrough we did, which we get to in a minute, but I'm here as a citizen. I have been working with TA on sort of doing some of this work. We did a thing with David and Western Queens that we will get to in a minute as well. Anyway, I'm not representing the community board. I'll make that clear. So, but what we did when we presented this to CB1 is we went like block by block and said, here's what the design looked like before 2015. Here's what it looks like after. You can start to see why those injuries and crashes went up. We added a travel lane, which every time you do that, it speeds up vehicles. We took away bike lanes. They weren't protected bike lanes. We do still have bike lanes in other parts of the design, but there were places where they just got eliminated entirely. And so you're in a bike lane and suddenly it just disappears and who knows what you're supposed to do. So that was Provost to McGinnis. And as Kevin mentioned, one of our main goals here is to bridge these missing connections in the bike network, because McGinnis Boulevard is a fantastic bike lane that we also spent years fighting for, are still fighting for. And
there are people in this room that joined us in that fight. We appreciate it.
And we want people to be able to get from Queens to Brooklyn safe, and to our waterfront parks and to some of our other spaces.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't really need to go block by block for you all. I don't think. But the places that we really saw, like we get to Kingsland Avenue, this is where
Oscar was killed.
The gentleman was killed. This is the current condition, like sort of a bit of the current condition of that roadway. The road is in really terrible shape. You can't see the markings in the street. There's industrial traffic to the other, like behind where the camera is. That's also where the Newtown Creek Nature Walk is. There's a bike lane on that side. That's where NCA's offices are. So there is much, especially with the opening of the Nature Walk, a lot more pedestrian and bike traffic, I would say, as well as Edgewood Street. That like there's more people
Oh, for sure,
on the
yeah.
Kingsland side. Since that entrance to the Nature Walk opened at Kingsland, but they haven't changed the light in any way. They haven't improved the roads. So it's really scary to get onto the bridge, get off of the bridge, cross Kingsland, try and turn onto the bike lane on Greenpoint Avenue. I live on Kingsland and I try and avoid this intersection at all costs.
Is there a place that I can plug this in actually? Because it's starting to
About
really
die.
Do you guys have a charger? Is there like a plug? Right here. Yeah, sure.
And like Kevin said, once you get to the Queen side of the bridge, it's honestly even worse. The sort of many streets coming together, very confusing. The roads are in really poor condition, really high industrial traffic, which is the nature of both sides. They are within IDCs. But we just need to like better organize the traffic so that people know what to do. That's one of our goals with this. Do you want to keep?
Yep. This is something that we discovered as we started to go back through kind of the old DOT proposals, and this is pretty wild. In 2010, what was proposed for the Greenpoint Avenue Bridge was wide bike lane, 6 foot wide, with 9 foot buffers on either side, and making the Greenpoint Avenue Bridge 1 lane in each direction, which would have matched the conditions on the Greenpoint side of the bridge, which at the time, was basically was parking and bike lanes and 1 lane in each direction as well. And they would have had the bridge match those conditions. What ultimately happened was that project at the time was killed by the then assemblyman in the area, as well as one of the companies that operates in Greenpoint, killed that plan. Nothing happened then after that for 5 years. But we had this plan on the table, or one plan on the table, that would have greatly increased safety and clarified traffic conditions 15 years ago, which is pretty frustrating, to be honest with you, as we look at it, especially because a road diet, even at the time, a road diet, this is what this is, the narrowing of a roadway, at the time would have been probably one of the earliest ones in the city over the Greenpoint Avenue Bridge, and it was ultimately rejected. Instead, 3 travel lanes were retained. Travel lanes on Greenpoint Avenue were ultimately increased in 2015, and on the Greenpoint side, injuries increased 63%. And there's been a death.
And I will add, at some point, there is the bike lane over the bridge. There used to be buffers there, like physical plastic delineators that DOT decided at some point to stop replacing because they got hit by so many trucks and other vehicles without that 9 foot buffer. Now there's just a very narrow buffer between everyone and no physical protection anymore because it's too expensive to replace it.
Even though it's very possible in this space, the bridge itself is a double bascule bridge. So you have the counterweights down below, but on most of the bridge, probably about 70% of the bridge, you could very easily have Jersey barriers in that hatched space. And then you could have plastic delineators in the middle where the bridge lives. It would be a straightforward and simple thing to do just at a base level, and something we asked for after the death in 2023.
Is that the same kind of bridge construction as the Pulaski,
Yes.
which has Jersey barriers?
Correct. But when they construct, it had the Jersey barriers, but there's more protection because that was a major reconstruction that was several years. But even with the basic materials that DOT could roll out tomorrow, things they have sitting in a warehouse, the bridge itself is something that can be made much safer. But we're talking about the whole corridor.
Most of that stuff's actually sitting under the bridge.
3 blocks
It's-
away.
it's-
No,
So-
It's literally,
Underneath.
they literally have Jersey barriers underneath the Greenpoint Avenue Bridge. We're like, just bring them upstairs. Like, we'll help. Anyway, moving over to the side that you folks are a little more familiar with. There is Gale Avenue to Hunters Point Avenue, the I-495 overpass section. There was the 2015 redesign of the entire corridor, which was when Sharrows were added.
Where is
Which,
Gale Ave? Can you just?
yeah,
It's one of the entrances to Calvary Cemetery.
it's like,
Oh, it's
here. Yeah, it's up there.
up where the gate is to Calvary.
The other
Cemetery?
gate, the
It's-
secondary gate.
It's the bottom of the yellow highlighted area.
This
Yeah.
is just that segment that's horrible that goes over to LIE.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us really refer to Gale.
No.
I'm focused on staying alive when I'm.
Moving traffic in a highway entrance.
Yeah.
There's no protection for cyclists here. Star Avenue to Borden Avenue and Hunters Point to Queens Boulevard are 2 other obviously prominent stretches along the way here. And again, you folks are the experts on this. But again, Sharrows, no protection for cyclists. It's awful. And also you have folks parking all the way up into crosswalks where they exist, blocking visibility, right? It is a very, very unpleasant, trip along the corridor there. Tom Matuzas knows Gale.
Of course.
Okay, where am I here? Hold on. Oh, there we go. So for us, the missing link, and this is kind of going back to some of our maps, here you can see on our side, green is protected lanes, orange is painted lanes, and red is Sharrow lanes. We don't have this map for you all, unfortunately, but you can really see again here, the west, the East River Greenway, the McGinnis Boulevard bike lanes, and then obviously the hard fought review Avenue bike lanes, you know, that you all kind of came through and got done over here, which is so amazing. And then kind of right down the middle here, the belt right through it. It's a real, you know, it's a mixed bag, to be sure, between sharrows and painted lanes across the board. This just zooms in on that, but this specifically also looks at bus routes. On our side, you know, there's lots of areas that need crosswalks. There's bus stops. People are crossing in the middle of the block to go to a bus stop. These long stretches with no ability to kind of cross the street. So it's a transit corridor, obviously as well. This looks at the citywide bike network connections that are here in Queens CB2, right? And shows some of like the future connections that folks are looking at and talking about and thinking about. This gets into, you know, folks from Western Queens TA are going to get a lot more into this in a minute. So it's a shout out, but this is a lot of these conversations also began kind of around the Sunnyside ride that happened that a lot of folks probably here participated in, where a lot of these different spaces were being identified as priority investments for safer spaces, which we're hugely in support of. Opportunity to connect the open spaces. Some of the parks are just along the way here, right? There should be more of them. That's our hope. Green spaces, spaces that folks want to be. Just a brief timeline. In October 20th, we had a community visioning and feedback that was Queens and Brooklyn together. That discussed that this was the two Queens and Brooklyn TA committees that came together in Long Island City. Some of the feedback we heard from that was the stuff that's not going to surprise anybody here. Intersections are confusing, dangerous, and unsafe. Sidewalks across the bridge are too narrow. Bike lanes and sidewalks are dirty and obstructed by trash. Bike lanes are often blocked by parked cars and trucks. And a lot of folks, pedestrians, cyclists, avoid using Greenpoint Avenue and the bridge due to those safety concerns. We brought that back to our community board, CB1, on October 30th. There was a discussion on our transportation committee, and then the committee did a walkthrough on November 16th. Meryl, if you want to speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, so as Kevin said, we presented to the committee just like these are the concerns, and they're all aware of it. It's already in our district needs statement. So these are the things that we identified from that visioning session that Kevin mentioned. And then we decided to do a walkthrough, and it confirmed all of the things that we already knew, which is that there's a lot of places where people are crossing to get, like Kevin said, to a bus stop, or just because there's no crosswalk for a long period of time, where there's no stop control, there's no marked crosswalk. In some cases, there is an unmarked crosswalk, and people are using it. There's the unprotected bike lanes are pretty dangerous, and with as much industrial traffic as there is in that extra travel lane, they're often blocked by vehicles. Everyone is speeding on both sides of Greenpoint Avenue. We were there on a Sunday, and even with lower traffic than usual, because a lot of the businesses aren't operating, it still did not feel particularly safe. We need a way to slow vehicles down as they're making those turns, so they can be looking out for pedestrians, they can be looking out for cyclists, other cars. And so as part of another plan that was part of the McGinnis Boulevard redesign originally, where bike lanes on Kingsland Avenue and Monitor Street were being worked on in tandem by DOT. That was also killed. Those were seemingly killed when McGinnis Boulevard got put on hold for a couple of years. So we are asking that those be revisited, because we do have a protected bike lane on the industrial side leading to the nature walk. Thank you, Willis, for helping get that. But we want that bike lane to continue down Kingsland. So again, adding to that connected network, closer to Transmitter Park in the more commercial part of Greenpoint Avenue on our side. The sidewalks get really crowded. They are in some places wide, but they have a ton of bikes parked on them. They have a bunch of just stuff on the sidewalk. And there's really high pedestrian traffic because of all of the commercial, because people are trying to access the park and the ferry. So you really need to move some of that stuff off of the sidewalk, perhaps into the roadway. We need loading zones to avoid people parking in the bike lanes, parking in the crosswalks, parking on the sidewalk. And then one opportunity for new green space as a plaza at the last block of Greenpoint Avenue to sort of expand Transmitter Park. And that was an open street in 2020, 2021.
22.
Where we sort of experimented with that and a lot of the businesses were in favor at the time. So we want to revisit that.
Just to bring us home, where it kind of sits right now, obviously we are presenting to all of you tonight. We spoke on the 18th with our elected officials on the Brooklyn side, their offices, Councilmember Ressler, State Senator Salazar and Gonzalez, Assemblymember Gallagher, and Congresswoman Velasquez. All were very, very supportive and are working on a letter that should be done tomorrow for our community board meeting. It's something that I have raised to Assemblymember Valdez and someone who works in the office of Senator Janaris. And there was a great degree of receptiveness and interest, and they were very keen to hear what you all thought about it, as a larger corridor wide visioning and redesign. Nydia's office, Dan Wiley, who I'm sure some of you know, is very, very keen on this. Dan bikes this route all the time. As he says, it would be great for him because it would go right from where he works to where he also works. So he's observed those conditions firsthand. And that's basically that. We are going to be bringing this back to CB1 Transportation Committee tomorrow for a letter that's going to be going to our full board next week. We really would love to kind of start the new year, and there's about a half a dozen groups that we're in active conversation with about letters of support. Tom, if you're still listening, we would love to talk to Blissville Civic about that as well. Willis is working on something from the perspective of NCA for kind of their scope in area, the bridge and the intersections on either side. Big reuse, we would welcome something, anything like that. But I think that we would love to kind of start the year with the incoming administration saying to the Department of Transportation, this is a priority for both of our community boards. The elected officials, the community boards are online with it. The elected officials are on board with it. The relevant groups are on board with it. We would like you to begin moving quickly to come up with something pretty straightforward, to make this corridor safer and better and, for everybody. Because it is a critical corridor. And it's something also that I think in all the investments that DOT has been doing these last number of years, again, kind of across the board from the East River all the way to Queens Boulevard, this is the electric cord right through it. So happy to answer any questions, and also we'd love to hear from you all about kind of your experiences and where you see, because again, this was a little bit lighter on the Queens stuff. We know the Brooklyn stuff much better, of course. But happy to help in any regard, and but it'd be great to have a letter kind of asking for the same, right, from you all for the Greenpoint Avenue corridor on your side of the bridge to wherever you see fit. Queens Boulevard was the line that we drew, but wherever you are.
Well, I think we can also say whereas you're already working on it, it is
Sure.
timely for
Yes.
us to do the same.
100%.
I think that's for sure.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing that. And obviously you put together some stuff on the Queens side as well. When you first came to me, you were just talking about how you put this together for the Brooklyn side. Obviously it connects our two boroughs where we often feel severed from each other because of the industrial zones between us and
Yes.
the lack of real public transit between us. So a straight shot diagonal protected bike and pedestrian route would be beautiful. Something we've talked about a lot in the past, and we kind of advocated for piecemeal. But as far as the full kit and caboodle, I don't know if we've ever written a letter. Corey.
Well, I do think Patricia had her hand up first.
Oh, Patricia. Thank you.
You are muted though.
You're muted there, Patricia.
I think she has to unmute.
We can't hear you what you're
Can
saying.
you do ask Tony?
There we go.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you're good.
Can you hear? Yes?
Yeah, a little
Still
closer
very
to your microphone though. We can't hear you.
Okay, one thing I think has to be considered on the Queens side of Greenpoint Avenue is as you're coming east, as soon as you hit the LIE, all the avenues start angling out. So you have the straight avenue and all the angled avenues are cutting across it, which makes for the very dangerous intersections from the LIE all the way to Queens Boulevard. Greenpoint Avenue then becomes Roosevelt Avenue, and that everything is at an angle from going across Queens Boulevard, and everything cuts, and all along Greenpoint Avenue you have dangerous intersections for everybody, for pedestrians, for bicyclists, for motorists, for everybody. I'm around there very, very often, and you really have to be looking out of all sides of your head to see who's coming and going. So I think that's a consideration to really take an understanding of, because this is a physical problem that's with that section of Queens. I mean, Astoria has their problems also with angling avenues, but it's very, very dangerous from the LIE all the way to Queens Boulevard because of the corners that are almost acute angles as they all cut across from the avenues.
And I think this is, Patricia, I don't know if you can hear me, but I think this is why, like, in terms of like looking at a piecemeal versus in its entirety, looking at it in its entirety really matters, right? That it's like if you're putting a bike lane and the conditions keep on changing, like this is the case in Greenpoint, right? The bike lane or the infrastructure changes so much across a couple of different blocks. So you might have someone that's riding their bike and they feel very comfortable, and now all of a sudden they're mixed in with industrial traffic. And now all of a sudden they're coming through a very commercial area with 150 people crossing the street. And I think that like doing this by design, because the design is the problem, right? If the design is the problem, then also the design is going to be the solution, right? And if you're slowing down traffic and you're clarifying those conditions and you're creating the visibility, and I think I want to say, even though a lot of this reads as kind of a bike infrastructure, I want to clarify and really make sure that it's clear that it's also transit and it's also pedestrian infrastructure. I walk a lot more than I ride a bike, you know, and it's also for drivers, right? It's like when you're driving and you're coming up to those acute angles that you're talking about, if the visibility is bad, it's a very stressful experience, right? You know, that a bike could come out of nowhere, or a car could come out of nowhere, or a person could come out of nowhere, right? Whatever mode you're using, whatever mode you're in. And that's the daylighting. I know Queen CB2 has passed a daylighting resolution probably in 2024, but the visibility at those acute angles becomes, you know, very, very, very important as you're asking DOT to invest in a full-scale redesign. You know, you need to say to them, you would need to say to them in any type of resolution or letter, you know, you must incorporate daylighting. And this is why, you know, our board and yours and so many others across the city have asked for universal daylighting, that it's not applied.
I'm just thinking of one corner on 44th Street as it crosses over Greenpoint Avenue. You also have 47th Avenue coming over there, and you have traffic that could be coming in from 6 different directions.
Yeah.
Now that may be something that cannot be changed, because that's the nature of the development of the streets. So you have to take into consideration that there may be some things that just can't be easily fixed, and you really have to be very knowledgeable about the neighborhood to know that, to feel comfortable about it. If you're coming through that neighborhood and you don't know it, it's very, very dangerous. But there may be something that cannot be physically easily fixed.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think a lot of this is asking for more organization of the streets. So everybody knows their role, everybody goes at the safest speed, and everybody has the best visibility. That's always what we're asking for. As always, I follow Vision Zero, which is to have 0 injuries and deaths on New York City streets.
I hear you.
DOT toolkit to get there.
Yeah.
Can't hear.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Corey, go ahead.
Okay. So I agree with a lot of Patricia's saying. You know, this, to your point too, Kevin, this corridor, it changes a lot, right, as it goes from section to section. So first and foremost, I'd be very interested to see the letter that CB1 is working on. I think I'm in very, very much in favor of this proposal to begin with, right? My personal experience cycling around the area, Greenpoint, I live in Sunnyside. Greenpoint is like the obvious direct route for me to get almost anywhere in Greenpoint. It's the lowest, shallowest, it's direct, right? But I never ever take it because it's like taking my life into my hands, right? I end up taking Kosciuszko all the way down to McGinnis, then come all the way up, or I'd have to go into Long Island City and then at Pulaski. Like it's crazy that we have to do all this when there's an obvious route that everyone's been calling for. And I've been personally very frustrated that this obvious thing hasn't happened earlier. So kudos to starting the conversation. But to Patricia's point, you know, the way this corridor lives in Sunnyside and Woodside is it's kind of like the main streets, like the Broadway of our community, right? And so it does create a lot of very complex intersections, right? I live near 44th, Greenpoint, and 48th Avenue, which we raised to DOT because it's a crazy star-shaped intersection. That is a nightmare for everyone, whether you're driving or walking on it. So I think it's the kind of corridor where like just saying let's do a protected bike lane the whole way is not going to fly, right? So I'd be really interested to see what could come out of like a real corridor-wide safety study. I think there's some really great concepts around CB2 in terms of like bike boulevards and, you know, low traffic neighborhood concepts.
Sure.
I'd really be curious to see what the experts can come up with to do traffic calming here. And as far as the extents of the project go, it's kind of interesting. You know, I didn't know that much about the Brooklyn side and how it terminates at Transmitter Park, but Greenpoint terminates on the Queens side at Saba Park. So it's almost bookended by these nice little parks. But of course, the corridor itself extends past that across Queens Boulevard and turns into Roosevelt. And honestly, the section of Greenpoint in Sunnyside is much more like Roosevelt than it is in Blissville. So for my own personal sake, I would love to see this extend all the way to Roosevelt, but then where do you draw the line, right?
Northern Boulevard.
Yeah, I mean,
No, but I guess it's to say, and Corey, I think that, you know, I think in approaching you all, like I've never done this. I've never said, hey, we're discussing this in our neighborhood. I guess I've done it with daylighting, but like I've never, like in terms of a corridor wide, like with McGinnis, we didn't go to CB, I guess it's CB1, right? No, it's you guys. Yeah, we didn't come to you guys and say, hey, we're running this up to the Pulaski, maybe we should have, but we had other bigger problems at the time.
and I was really excited to hear about the McGinnis fight. Like I got on my bike and went over the bridge and I was there because I use these corridors, right? Like we're such a small, skinny, you know, community district that we're constantly going into other districts, and that's the nature of living in a city, right?
Yes. Just to give you just very briefly, and this is the electeds letter, you know, the content of the electeds letter. And I think that obviously anything that the community board is going to get more into the nitty gritty, but also it's like DOT are the professionals. Like, you know, I joke, it's like we play professionals on TV, but it's like, they're the professionals. Like they're the ones that are getting paid to figure this stuff out. Like they have the offices full of people that, you know, have the maps and have the expertise and went to school for it and whatever. And so, you know, in the electeds letter, they kind of state the problem, right? Which is that this is a, you know, cross-borough corridor. This is, you know, there's been too many injuries and deaths. You know, that these are the priorities like connection and open space and safety. And then asking the Department of Transportation to engage in a comprehensive redesign of the corridor, right? Not piecemeal, not a bit at a time, comprehensive, to improve safety. Asking that design option study should include fully protected cycling lanes, measures to reduce vehicle speeds, improve pedestrian safety, hardened daylighting, new crosswalks, loading zones, and green infrastructure to attenuate flooding risk. Like those are the things that the electeds, I imagine the CB1 letter will be more into the details, right? Because they've been more into the details on it. But again, I think it's to kind of get the ball rolling, knowing that we have partners in the Department of Transportation that will come and say, okay, this is what we're thinking for the intersection of 44th and Greenpoint Avenue, or, you know, where it connects to this park or that one. We are the experts in that regard, right? But in kind of that initial ask, highlight to whatever degree you want. But I think getting this thing rolling, for us, has been the most critical, because we are kind of not working against the clock. It's like, it could be a priority project, I feel, in a new administration that connects boroughs and invests in safety in a real way.
I'm just gonna jump in and say, we do have one more presentation and then our first meeting with our DOT rep in a long time. And we typically end by 8, or a little later.
Yeah.
So I think if a lot of us are in agreement with this and we want to expand discussion, that's fine. But also keep in mind that we have a lot on our plate.
A very quick question. When we say asking DOT, but we know DOT has its silos. So for instance, on the 59th Street Bridge, and we were worried about all the pedestrian markings on the bike only side. And we should have been asking the bridges team rather than the whatever. And so here, I mean, it's obvious, are there two, there's a Brooklyn silo and a Queens silo. Can this, is there a way to unite
Well,
this?
no, I think, yeah, there's a little overemphasis of how much planning comes from the borough offices. Because I would say this is an ask, for our vice team, which works citywide, and they obviously work in.
Okay, that solves
They
it.
wouldn't be opposed to working on a project that crosses borough borders, like, you
It
know,
does involve a bridge.
yeah. Would also involve our bridges team. I will say, I know there used to be barriers on that bridge, like the delineators. I know a lot of times with issues is that those don't really stay in the concrete deck of the bridge. They don't really stay bolted down. They get ripped up very easily.
Yes.
So if there, I mean, but that is, if there is calls for more hardened protection, that is something we want here, like.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not asking to put those back, I mean.
We're not asking for plastic delineators.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know
not- and I'm not
they're
saying-
clearly
Wasted
not
money.
effective.
So we did send a letter last month,
Uh,
asking for hardened protection.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that should be fine. I'll go get the case for that.
it
So,
came late in.
And I think we're
Right.
also happy to send a letter asking for hardened protection, but also it's like, I think the other part of this that's important is like, we're past the point of addressing this just with hardened protection singularly on the bridge. Right? It needs to go from transmitter to Queens Boulevard, in my estimation, you know, in terms of real investment and thought, and, you know, it's gotta be bolder than this, right? You know, when you look at the number of injuries, like, the number of injuries have skyrocketed with the DOT design that's been in place the last 10 years.
And like with the micro mobility unit, I know that this is something that. Like, it's a relatively easy sell because we can say this adds X number of miles. Kevin, you have that actual number, I imagine, if we move forward with this, you can get this many more miles for the protected bike network to hit the streets master plan. And so like, I think there are selling points to those units to get them to think about. working together.
We wrote our letter, Ross, just for your information. We wrote our letter to the commissioner of DOT and our borough commissioner. That's how we addressed the letters, not a specific department, with the knowledge that DOT will figure it out as to who's supposed to do it. And, you
Well,
know,
knowing that there's the bikes, I mean, that helps,
Yeah.
because when we wrote our letters, we just didn't know, and then it sort of didn't go anywhere.
you know, you write
So
it,
we're
you
doing
address it
like
to the
in
borough
the
office and then we direct it to the proper unit that will address it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's, it's our job to figure out who it's supposed to go to.
Just briefly, since there are some experts in the room, the streets master plan is this year, the end of this year, right? It passed in 2020, and by
it'll be renewed.
2025, there were supposed to be so many miles of protected bike lane built, but we're way behind.
I don't blame DOT for that at all personally, like, they're trying, it's really difficult, but that's why we wanna look at it as a comprehensive plan and why we want to like work with the communities that these things affect, to be like, how can we get these things that will really build that connected network?
But I
and
also
make it-
point out that elected officials passed that law, and it is the goal of the city to do this. This isn't
Yes.
us trying to, you know, get the city to do something. The
No.
goal of the city was to build a protected bike network. 5 years ago, they said, we're going to do this within 5 years. And so, hey, here's a place, here's a place where it can happen.
Nice. It's like a free set of miles of good deals that are like already everyone's been clamoring for.
Yeah.
I would like to, I mean, I respect very much the thought of respecting the expertise of the professionals in DOT. And I'd like to charge them with considering some possible alternatives, because as you come up Greenpoint, the last portion is very, you know, small businesses, and maybe we want protected bike lanes there. In some ways, people say that increases their business. But on the other hand, there's an awful lot of activity, and it might be that it would make sense on, say, 47th Ave to, you know, kind of loop a little bit up and around and connect Queens Boulevard up there. I don't know. I mean,
I think that stretch,
what?
Broadway style pedestrianization.
I mean, just
44th Street to Queens Boulevard,
like-
it's a commercial corridor, and it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
so
I just want them to study it and
Yeah.
consider
I-
possibilities.
without prolonging the conversation, I agree, it's hairy. I think if your goal is to have a continuous protected bike lane, diverting a couple blocks onto like an avenue like 48th or 47th makes sense, right? The issue is the sheer directness of Greenpoint Avenue is going to have bikers on it, delivery cyclists, people using it, right? And so there needs to be safety treatments no matter what. But then the
Let's have it
complicating
all.
factor is they're currently reconstructing the concrete bump outs on Greenpoint Avenue, so.
Ah.
That is a big.
What happened to the bricks? That's such a.
They're not even done. I've been walking through traffic cones for the last 2 weeks. I'm not very happy about it, but I'm gonna put that aside for now. But the point is like, with that capital reconstruction, that takes a lot of options off the table. So it's gonna, there's a lot that needs to happen. I agree. But it's also a freight corridor, so we'd have to work on rewriting the freight corridor.
And a bus
delisting it,
route.
Just the whole thing.
Easy peasy. Patricia,
I was just going to suggest the same thing that Roz did, because it seems like you're literally got roadblocks in your way coming up Greenpoint Avenue. And for the safety of bicyclists, I really think that they should be on either 47th or 48th Avenue, and then move over to Greenpoint if you want to go across the bridge, or move over to Greenpoint if you want to go further over to Queens Boulevard. But for your own safety, I mean, I don't understand. Greenpoint Avenue is narrow. It has a lot of deliveries. There's a lot of trucks. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of businesses. For your own safety, go off onto a side avenue. Yeah, it's not Greenpoint Avenue, but so what? It's your life.
I think the same argument could be made to divert all of the cars off of Greenpoint Avenue, since it's so important for cycling access and cargo bike deliveries, et cetera.
I'm not making it a car versus bicycle thing. I'm making it a safety
You're telling the bikes to
thing.
get off the corridor.
Um,
That's what you're saying.
no,
I
it
will-
is the same
No.
point that Roz made, and point taken, I do want
I-
to move things along.
I'm not pushing at this one.
Yeah.
And our goal is not necessarily a protected bike lane, although that is one of the things we're asking DOT to look at. It is a safer corridor along Greenpoint Avenue. That is the first priority, is safety, safer for pedestrians, for cyclists, and for drivers. It's not just about one mode of transportation.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to highlight that. I think that it's much more important, I think, for the DOT and for elected officials to be hearing that Brooklyn CB1 and Queens CB2 are asking for a comprehensive redesign within these delineations, right? From here to here. What that actually looks like, we have a pretty good idea because we've been talking about it, thinking about it, planning for it, and also because there's kind of like 4 distinct sections. And that's really about it in Greenpoint. Whereas for you guys, it's more complicated. So we leave it to you. You know, but I think so long as the ball's moving forward, we're asking for something that looks the whole corridor.
So I'd like us to propose extending the corridor to, down Roosevelt to the edge of our district. If they're gonna look at it, that's how the corridor is used for us, right? It's one diagonal corridor. That would support their thing, but also make it more relevant to people too.
Yeah, is it an easier ask just to work on this segment of the Greenpoint Avenue?
It's less, so
Than
yeah.
do Roosevelt?
As a big
Um,
Roosevelt's.
Yeah, I think Roosevelt might actually be in our budget ask, as well. Greenpoint was not, but,
If you guys decided to, I just want to say, like, if you guys decided to do that, as we are pushing for this, we would change that to, I wasn't sure where I knew Prince Boulevard is the bike lanes, right? So it's like, if you guys were to say, oh, we will extend it to the edge of CB2 to Roosevelt Avenue, I don't know how many blocks it goes up, but that we would also reflect that in our asks for our elected officials, for our meetings with DOT to say, this is a priority that it goes from here to here for us, and see CB2 about what the particulars are.
right, yeah.
What do you think? Should we do Roosevelt too?
I think if we ask for, I know the idea of continuity, I could see it. Could argue it both ways. But I think, look, I thought Queens Boulevard was gonna be impossible going down the 59th Street Bridge, and look what you guys did, so,
Yeah.
that's.
So let's shoot for the moon.
Who's the experts? But it is, you know, it was interesting. I thought the low traffic network presentation that we had, was very compelling and different, and where protected bike lanes really aren't the sine qua non. And so it might be that, I don't know whether Greenpoint Ave, where you want to think of that as sort of the arterial and the travel, or, you know, which is part of it, or, and then the other part is the low traffic network, I mean, which means that according to what Patricia is saying, bicyclists could opt to go on that one, much as I can opt to go on Skillman Ave or Queens Boulevard, usually it's.
So without getting into the specifics of it, I think the value of extending the scope of our request for a safety study to include Roosevelt is the issues plaguing Greenpoint are going to be the same issues plaguing Roosevelt. Even at Queens Boulevard and 48th Street, it's the same mess that we're seeing when you get off the Greenpoint Avenue Bridge, right? It's a million little junctions. There's been a fatality there too. There's been injury crashes there, a lot of injury crashes there. So I mean, I think if we can ask, hey, study Roosevelt and Greenpoint, and then leave it to DOT to segment and phase it, like that's fine. But I think if we're gonna ask for a safety study, let's do the whole corridor.
Have any thoughts, Joe, in terms of target of this ask?
Well, I do think it's important to make that formal ask, I will say.
Which one? That's the question.
Whatever you want.
That is up to the board. I'm not gonna tell you how far of quota. I think it's just important to make the ask to begin with. And you know, even if you say we want this specific parameter studied, but also on top of it, you could also mention Roosevelt within the letter as well. And that, you know, beyond this as of Greenpoint Avenue, we would also like to see.
Maybe with a mind towards the Roosevelt.
As an umbrella, saying within the district, Greenpoint Avenue to the extent of Roosevelt Avenue, we're asking for a safety redesign that will accommodate all users. With particular focus on the work.
Or initially.
I just know what happens at the edge of these studies. They get forgotten. And it's an unfortunate habit of a lot of DOT's projects, no offense. That the beginning and the end of them are totally forgotten. And so if we want them to address Greenpoint, Queens Boulevard, and 48th Street, it's got to be in the middle of the study. It can't be at the edge. Like the bike lane, the Queens Boulevard bike lane already stops there because it was too hard, right? Like there's a gap. So we should, I don't know.
That hasn't been addressed
It's
yet.
very rural.
That hasn't been addressed yet.
Prioritize.
Sorry?
The middle.
Patricia?
Said that hasn't
48th Street, and we've discussed that for months already.
Right,
That
right.
48th Street and Queens Boulevard and Roosevelt Avenue intersection hasn't been addressed yet. So
Yeah.
I don't agree with going forward into Roosevelt Avenue when you can't even figure out that corner.
Well, we're asking them to study it specifically. If we don't include it, then they won't study it.
Well, it's
Like,
gonna be
I mean,
studied
I
anyway. There's
personally-
another whole
I-
project for Roosevelt Avenue. Besides which, you have the L over there that's gonna take another whole problem.
So all I can say is my partner lives in Woodside, I live in Sunnyside. The most direct and natural path for me to take would be to go up Greenpoint and then go onto Roosevelt and turn on 456th and visit him. And I can't do it. I will die if I do that every day. So to me, it's one corridor, it's one road. It just because it changes names doesn't change the fact that it's a straight line into Woodside, you know?
We're presenting next.
Yeah.
But I just have a quick question for you. When they're talking about it, does the amount of space, like studying the Roosevelt part, does that extend the amount of time to then look at the other corridor? Like, so,
That's a good question. I wouldn't say it extends the time. I think when they are looking at what routes make the most sense, but let's say, for example, like the bike scene, I think it does help to connect up existing routes like with Queens Boulevard over the Greenpoint Bridge. It makes the most sense to study that. I don't think the board should be limiting themselves based on things like that, though.
okay.
I think,
The example also you can use is the Review Avenue
Yeah,
has come
like-
first, but there's still actually planning to extend it down to.
Yeah, it creates a pipeline.
Yeah, like in the sense
So
that
it's-
review, you know, the blissful agreement was a great example of that. Like there are essentially 3 or 4 segments to
Yeah.
it now at this point. But it started off as a broad ask to look for a direct route along it.
Right.
And so if you make that ask for going all the way up to Roosevelt Avenue, it will all be looked at, but likely be segmented into separate projects.
Right.
So I don't think, you know, it would make sense to limit yourself if you do want to see that.
And I propose that,
Thank you.
that rather than trying formulating a letter at this moment, let's hear the Sunnyside Woodside and, because it's probably all gonna come together.
Yes.
Yes. Do you think it's the
Which is-
same letter though? I guess, and the reason why I say this is just because like, for instance, though, of course, I'm very much in support of everything that's coming with the Western Queens Sunnyside plan. I do think that there is like a specific, for this stretch, and like what Corey's talking about, like for this particular stretch, like this roadway, like we have the cosign kind of from our elected officials, from our groups, from our elected officials, from our community board. So it's like, you know,
No,
Yeah.
I think what I'm saying is let's hear that, and yes, it may be that we take out the Greenpoint Avenue part of theirs, you know, and then
I
the
see
other
your-
parts of
like,
the.
You're very good at writing multiple letters and making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I promise I'll make a motion about.
Some of it's
to
gonna overlap.
Specifically.
Yeah.
But I think
No,
I was gonna
that makes
suggest moving on to the next presentation.
Yeah.
So that we can better formulate the language of an official letter.
Yeah, and you'll see that we're more focused on protected. I think you had posed, or that about your particular proposal wasn't necessarily about protected throughout the whole and that.
I don't want to be overly prescriptive for
Yeah,
you all.
it's not-
We said
Yeah,
protected for our side.
safety, yeah.
I-
We're talking more to protect, but we'll go ahead and put that.
Yeah, with Honored having gone to a full vote, I think it's pretty clear that we're in support of the concept. It's
Yes.
just a matter of the actual verbiage.
Yeah, just so you know, this committee has been in support of all of DOT's safety projects, Review Avenue, Queens Boulevard, Skillman Avenue, the Bike Boulevard. We endorse those and ask for more, very
Are
often.
we on the full board agenda though, or are you presenting to them on Thursday?
I don't believe so.
No?
This-
This is Dr. Angela.
This group presentation is on.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
see that, yeah.
Yeah, so that may affect what we do tonight.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Give
access.
For David.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you guys, thanks very much for.
On the
Thank you.
43rd. I'll shoot back in a.
Contact you.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it.
Contact you.
I just went
I
like
can
that.
look for contact. First, it is much info.
Thank you all.
All right.
Fine.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, the lights are out under the.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still got someone. Every time I think of it, I'm like in a hurry because I want an e-bike. I don't have time to take a photo. Well, I take a photo.
First. Thank you all very much.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, thank you.
Can we wrote some of these chairs? I want to see.
Okay, just to introduce ourselves, my name is David Morant. I am one of the co-chairs for the Western Queens Transportation Alternatives Committee. I'm also a Sunnyside resident. I've, lived here for the last 7 or so years. I've been right on the corner now. And I'm presenting with.
I'm Alice Easton. I've worked
Alice.
Alice Easton. I've worked in CB2 for 6 years and I moved here from Astoria 8 months ago.
I'm Jennifer Wicky and I'm a volunteer with the Transportation Alternatives. And I am from Ridgewood, so I'm a visitor, but I use this network a lot to get to the area.
Yeah, so today we're talking about just getting a protected bike lane network within Sunnyside and Woodside so that we'd actually be able to connect to our neighbors in, say, Astoria, North Brooklyn, Ridgewood, and the surrounding areas. And so today we're just really going to go over some ideas that we have for where might make sense, but ultimately what we're asking for is for DOT to actually look into these areas to give support to the existing network that we have now to make it easier to get on.
Okay, thank you. And online, can you guys hear well?
No.
Wait, come over.
Maurice, so the microphone's over here.
Yeah, so we're talking about getting a.
Is that better?
It should pick you up pretty well.
I grabbed.
We're talking about getting some improvements to our bike network, south and Woodside, for more protection and just better safety around the neighborhood and connecting to other neighborhoods that are like directly touching them.
And it seems like this group is highly aware and fairly sold on the idea of when you have great things, it's great if they connect to each other. And so, as David said, we're going to kind of highlight some cases where we think are, some that we think are relatively easy, others that may be harder but still important. And just as an example here, we have, trying to go from the Community Public Library in Sunnyside to the Museum of the Moving Image. Take public transit, takes a half an hour. If you bike, it takes 9 minutes. So there's just lots of great access to other amazing neighborhoods that also have great bike infrastructure, great restaurants, other people we know and want to visit. But the public transit options are often not as great. And the only problem is that then you have to cross the train tracks in that example, or cross the Greenpoint Bridge, but just hurdles along the way. So we're going to highlight some of those gaps. And yeah, making the same point that a lot of these streets, a lot of this area in between, like fun residential restaurant Sunnyside and fun Long Island City, are very industrial, and yet very close. So lots of room for just very quick work and evening trips on bicycles. But a lot of those parts and connecting parts are incredibly scary, making it less of an option for many people who are not fearless. So the network that exists is amazing in a ton of ways, especially east-west along and north of Queens Boulevard and the two bridges with Polish names. Yeah, but amazing people. So
We say Kosciuszko on Ridge.
but I think when you look at this, you see a bunch of the really big gaps that are made evident by the amazing parts that already exist. So just the fact that south of Queens Boulevard, there's very little opportunity to have a protected bike lane, east-west or north-south. Some of those problems are going to be hard to solve, but seems like a sort of an equity issue and a gap in an amazing network. And then just a good, safe way to get across the LIRR tracks. There are, of course, Honeywell has a painted lane. Maybe there would be room for protection along it. 43rd, if it kept going, and he'll talk about specific examples, but just ways to safely get across that bridge. And then also a big gap over in Woodside for getting south from there. And kind of back to you.
Yeah, so the idea is here just better connecting the protected bike lanes that we have here, because for a lot of these cases, you're thrown into unsafe situations, as we were talking about. There's a mixture of the way that the roads are, sort of set up, and also what uses those areas have, that you can go from a pretty safe protected area, and then I think of it as like I just clench to get through the part that I know is not safe until I can make my way back to a part that's protected. So really the idea is to fill in the gaps between those areas and have continuous protection. So this is a big picture what we're talking about. These are, as you saw in the last presentation, a picture of this here, and what Alice was just talking about, these different areas, and we can go in to just say like what the thought process is here, just to really understand like what we're trying to achieve here, not necessarily be prescriptive to say it must be these streets or else you want nothing. So just really trying to get the motive behind these and just saying, let's study it. Let's see what makes sense in these areas. How can we actually be protected the whole way through? And so starting off, like just improving connections to Astoria, we've highlighted here Honeywell Street and 43rd Street, which are in the 42nd place. As you go north of Queens Boulevard, these here, so Honeywell already has a green painted bike lane, but I don't think anybody feels safe going over that because cars speed by in order to get over, and there's no actual protection there. Similar case for 39th Street, which also has the same treatment. So honestly, either one of those. But for Honeywell, connecting to the existing project in Astoria for 31st Street that goes north up towards the park, there will be protected bike lanes there in the process of being installed, and it's told to do this, but connecting in that way to connect to the infrastructure that is going to be built there, that would be really useful. As well as 43rd Street north of Queens Boulevard. This connects to Skillman, as well as connecting to the park there, which is towards me. But that also has a vibrant like farmers market that's there every Saturday. And so being able to safely get there as well as connect to other infrastructure that goes east and west and Skillman and 43rd would be really useful. And this is a straight shot route that gets up there. And that example that we chose before of saying getting from the library to getting to the Museum of Moving Image, if you just go straight up 43rd Street, you get put out into Astoria a couple of blocks away from the Museum of Moving Images. So there are a lot of attractions in that way, and also just having this straight route there. So another here, south of Queens Boulevard has no protected bike lanes in the neighborhood at all. And so we've highlighted 47th Avenue here because it's uninterrupted in terms of going all the way across the neighborhood. It goes all the way into the cemetery and turns up onto Queens Boulevard towards the end there. It already has sharrows and some semblance of a lane, not protected, not painted with green paint. And so this is a way to say, like, if you're able to cut through the entirety of the neighborhood south of Queens Boulevard. I used to live on 41st Street and 47th Avenue, and it would always frustrate me that I'd have to go up towards Skillman after I come off of the bridge, and then find a street that's safe enough for me to come down, when really I would love to be able to go across the southern part of the neighborhood. And just allowing more points for people who are trying to go north to say, we've got this east-west corridor that would be safe south of Queens Boulevard, and then you can get to a safe street. To call that out, there's also a bunch of schools that go along this route on 47th Avenue, as well as going towards the LaGuardia Community College. So there are a lot of reasons why people would be on 47th Avenue, and of course the existing sharrows hint to this being a safe-ish street for people to go down, but actually making it protected and would be very helpful. We've called out these two here in Woodside, so increased protected infrastructure there. So 39th Avenue currently has a shared lane, and it would be extending that bike boulevard that exists back there. This is another one of those cases where you really get thrown off into an unsafe area when you get to Woodside Avenue. You're going on that bike boulevard, everything's nice, and then you're there and you're like, what do I do? Cars are coming from directions I don't know where I can actually go. How do I continue off into inside? So calling that one out there, which would then connect up to, I think that's Broadway that it comes across, but I might be wrong on that. But also 69th Street in Woodside, just because it's a very long uninterrupted space, a very long uninterrupted space that would be able to take people north-south and get to more protected infrastructure and get down into, say, Maspeth and over to Ridgewood if you want to. And the last section that we call it here, we've talked about Greenpoint Avenue. I think I can skip that, but we are also asking for that longer ass all the way into Roosevelt that we were talking about there, just to connect all the way across. Heard about Greenpoint already. Another really big one would be the south part of 43rd Street south of Queens Boulevard, which can connect to the K Bridge. I'm only saying the K Bridge. It would also connect to the ongoing efforts for Ridgewood to say on 56th Road, and sort of Rust and connecting to the Blissville Greenway as well. So it would really connect us through all the way there. And the continuation of 43rd Street to say that you can go all the way from Brooklyn all the way up into Astoria in a protected way would be phenomenal. But these are just some suggestions of areas that we think would be really useful as people who bike around in the neighborhood and knowing where, places of interest, really are. These are our suggestions, but anything that would help us in these areas would be great. So this is also, cool, yeah. So these corridors were requested by a DOT study, a community study, in 2015. You can see a lot of the areas that we've highlighted are part of these proposed dotted lines, where people are saying it would be really nice. Thankfully, there have been some improvements in some of them, like Queens Boulevard, but seeing more that to connect the southern part of the neighborhood as well, getting up over into Astoria and Greenpoint and going down into Ridgewood. So this isn't the first time we've, sort of talked about this or thought of this, so then we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, so as you can see, I think the protected bike lanes is what we're really advocating here. 34% reduction in crash risk and up to 60% on some streets. And obviously having a protective bike lane not only improves the experience for bikers, but for pedestrians and cars in some cases as well. You can just, yeah, so just to talk to the community side of it. So we've had 2 bike rides along in parts of these areas to draw attention to them. We did a spooky ride most recently in late September, early October, and we're trying to gain support and point out some of these areas, and we all participated as well. And we're getting signatures and trying to get garner as much support as we can for these particular areas.
Can I interrupt you before you move on?
Yeah.
That's our assembly member right there,
Exactly.
riding on a fixie bike. And what
Yeah.
drives me crazy is she lives in Ridgewood and her office is down the street from me in Sunnyside, and she does not feel safe riding a bike there. And it would be such an obvious commute for her.
Yeah, and it's funny because when we were talking about the route, we wanted everyone to draw attention to this, but we also didn't want to put anyone in danger. So we kind of said, look, that one, because some of them are a little hairy, And you can get. So some of the stats, but just in these proposed bike lanes, there's 130,000 New Yorkers, and then over 80 schools within a quarter mile of these bike lanes. So it does create a large wake of who would be affected and who would be able to utilize these. So the whole intention is to give all Queens residents in this area a safe way to get around and to visit some of the sites in the general neighborhood, some that we've talked about.
And this is our logo.
Yeah.
I also have a handout if anyone wants to, but that's what we've got.
Yeah, so I think we're looking for support and obviously as many signatures as we can garner as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. It's great to see, you come here with a lot of things that we've been asking for as well. It feels like it's nice to have people actually come to us rather than us discussing like, hey, what do what street needs a good bike lane? It's 47th Avenue. The more community support and the more voices we get, the easier it gets for us. We can certainly write letters all day long, but we need people actually calling for these things outside of the community board. So I appreciate it. Any questions or comments?
Are we ready to make a motion that we at least take the Greenpoint Ave portion and support all of that, and integrate it with a more comprehensive neighborhood-wide, especially prioritizing south in both Woodside and south of Queens Boulevard, because those, look, those of us that are here on the north side of Queens Boulevard, we live in almost a bike paradise, so not quite.
That's quite, but it's
Well,
much better.
But the north south connections are important too.
I would agree with that, but only for Sunnyside. Once you get into the Woodside
Yeah, like I
area,
said,
it's completely inverted, right?
That's
So-
right. It's obvious. It's an economic.
Yeah.
whatever. else.
Yeah, like there is a bike infrastructure desert in Woodside, especially near the train station, which is crazy. We've talked about this, don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like when you come off of 39th Avenue Bike Boulevard and you want to get to Jackson Heights to, you know,
Yeah.
34th Avenue Park or Traverse Park, because we do lack a lot of green space, and you want to take your kids, you just, it's really tough. That next stretch of 39th Avenue is, you know, hey, kids, get on the sidewalk. I know it's a very narrow sidewalk full of people, but you know, yeah. Great. Any questions online? Any comments from committee members? Great. Yeah. So did you want to make one
So,
motion?
One motion, well, let's call it.
We'll make
the,
a few.
yeah,
One for Green
yeah,
Point,
yeah,
one for.
yeah. But you know, whereas we see our partners in Brooklyn making proposals and requesting studies in Greenpoint Avenue. I won't call it artery, should I call it? Corridor. And we certainly want to see that continued because it extends the network and connectedness to other bike lanes such as Queens Boulevard. But we also are wanting with a longer view to consider extending further down Roosevelt. But that's with a longer view. But beginning prioritizing the connection from the Brooklyn up into our district. Then we'll
Sure,
want-
yeah. Seconded?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right.
And
Yeah, discussion.
so I just like got for that we're reinforcing the specific ask for a corridor-wide safety study, right? For a safety redesign of the Greenpoint Avenue corridor.
Yes, that would be good.
I think we can say Greenpoint Avenue to Roosevelt Avenue.
Sure, Greenpoint Avenue, Roosevelt Avenue corridor.
To connect to Greenpoint Avenue in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
connecting the boroughs, and protecting vulnerable,
Yeah.
all road users.
And I'd add a whereas this is a corridor that's extremely important to both of our respective community districts.
Yes. Just a language, an amendment to, for the DOT to use its Vision Zero toolkit to install protected bike lanes, daylighting, and.
Like boulevard elements.
Well, I think, yeah, the concept of low traffic network, I would apply more to the 47th Ave and the north-south 43rd Street. That comes a little bit later. That's different.
Should we say any and all safety elements in their toolkit?
Well, I want to make sure we're asking for protected bike lanes because
Okay.
we've seen sharrows.
Yes.
Like,
Well,
so we
yeah.
asked for bike infrastructure around the train station at 61st Street. And the DOT responded that, yes, we're building sharrows for you.
Ah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like almost explicitly, although most motions should be stated in a positive way, to exclude sharrows. I think they're fraudulent. I really think we should never have a sharrow. And the only, if you're gonna call it a bike lane, at least it has to have Kermit green.
so can we say physical protections?
Yes,
Because
hardened or something.
I know there are gonna be instances where the only feasible infrastructure due to space constraints or physical constraints is an unprotected bike lane, right? And I don't wanna totally exclude those,
Well, I'm not
but
saying that.
also, I mean,
Yeah.
but personally, I think like a painted bike lane is almost as useful as a sharrow. We need the
Well,
physical separation, right? That's what it really counts.
Painted bike lane, has value is for pedestrians. Because if they're crossing the street and they see it's painted green, and I don't know why they don't go more into the intersection, even if the crosshatched way. Then they realize they're gonna look for bikes.
Well, I'm specifically referring to the non-green ones, just the white stripes in the door zone that everyone uses for double parking.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a safety infrastructure. So I don't know how we have to word it to say, don't do that.
Well, what's the alternative? It's just protected bike lanes, parking protected or.
Yeah, or
Area.
horizontal delineation, vertical delineation, like speed bumps, what do you call it, chicanes, right? There's lots of options that physically change the roadway so that a driver has to slow down, right? Paint alone is not gonna be effective.
Right. Physical separation.
Physical separation, horizontal or vertical delineation, what's the word? Yeah,
Vertical elements.
yeah, okay. Like bump outs can work too, right? It just has to be something physical.
Right,
And
yeah.
concrete.
Or even good hefty armadillos.
That's that's a vertical element.
Yeah.
And just to add, when you guys were talking about Greenpoint Ave and whether, and how busy it is, but like ideally, when you get off Greenpoint Ave, it would be great if the cyclists in this would have actual options of which way to go. So instead of just going down Greenpoint Ave, they could go down some of the other streets
Which
that
is
we
why
proposed. So
the-
that would help reduce the traffic, straight bike traffic on Greenpoint Ave, because they have other alternatives that are protected.
I think it bears pointing out, right, like you mentioned, how many children live in this district, you know, how many schools would be close to the proposed bike lanes? You know, we're also in the community district that has the highest rate of cycling to work in the borough. And that's with our existing bike lane network, right? So clearly there's and bike traffic over the Queensboro Bridge grows every year, right? There is an incredible demand to have safe infrastructure so that people don't have to drive. Like they can leave their car at home, they don't have to fight for parking, because all their trips are less than 5 miles, right? And if we just make it safe and continuous, people will actually use it, right?
I also think something to add in is if you look at the city bike map, there are a bunch of city bike docks that are basically on an island of non-protection around it.
Yeah.
And it really discourages people from actually using it, because why would I get on that bike there when I know a truck is about to come out of like a turn? And so I think that we're not incentivizing people to use the tools that we've already invested in. And so it's a lack of utilization of the things we've already invested. That doesn't seem to make sense to me.
You're here.
The language that we use, in case it is helpful, is you are.
I think it would be helpful, yeah.
Language that we had used, and again, amend and, however you'd like. The design option studied should, study options for the comprehensive redesign of the corridor to improve safety for all street users. We asked the design options studied should include fully protected cycling lanes, measures to reduce vehicle speeds, improved pedestrian safety, hardened daylighting, new crosswalks, loading zones, and green infrastructure to
Point of
attempt.
information. I'm sorry, when
yeah, Maureen.
when we have discussion as a board, and as a committee, shouldn't only, once we're in discussion and a motion's been made, should it just be of the actual members of the board, of the committee?
Yes, I guess,
Okay.
I don't know the rules on that, but yeah, I take the point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
I
you
do
know,
like
just-
the
I just want to make sure we're deliberating as a committee and we are, because we could come under fire later that we're being dictated to by outsiders, and it really needs to be coming from our committee, I believe.
So I would
For sure, thank you, yes.
I take your point, and I would maybe like to specify, I think in this instance, Kevin, so we're considering writing a similar letter to one that was written by CB1. And so this is sort of a point of information of what is the letter that they wrote? Is that something that we would like to sign on to? I would argue he's not necessarily chipping into the conversation to argue one way or the other, merely providing that relevant information. Maybe that's a weak excuse, but I mean, I think it's helpful for
If
us.
we're asking, I mean, just like when someone comes and presents to us and then we ask them before we vote, that's fine.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that we're making our decisions and discussion, robust discussion happens among the committee members.
Heard.
Thanks.
I think also that that's why the Sunnyside, Woodside people came along at this time and so it is emanating from our district and so on, and connecting to local.
Yes, so considering the details of the CB1 letter, I think that's something that I would be happy to sign on to, right? To write a similar letter with the same requests.
Yeah, I
Is
think
that-
that's
is that-
essentially what we're saying. We're just looking
Yeah.
for the clarity of the language of
Yeah.
how to ask for the comprehensive redesign. Yeah, and we can do that offline.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, you can share the language and then when you review the letter.
great.
Yeah. All right, so a motion has been seconded with amendments. Did you make?
I made the second.
I made the motion.
You made the
Made the
motion, okay.
motion, Corey seconded.
All right.
That I wrote down.
What
Um,
was the amendment?
so let's essentially, restate the motion about Greenpoint Avenue, Raz. So comprehensive redesign.
Yeah, of the Greenpoint Avenue corridor, creating an improved safety and usability, I suppose, for all road users, which includes drivers and, pedestrians and bikers and so on, and
To connect the network.
include the elements that are in the Vision Zero toolbox, exclusive of the Sharrows only.
And did we have a friendly amendment to include Roosevelt in our,
Well, it was with, I'm sorry, yes, with
There was a Greenpoint Avenue and Roosevelt.
extending ultimately, but maybe in a later phase. I mean, your priority needs. to
I think we
be-
just do the big ask for the entire corridor.
Yeah.
And like with Review and Borden, they'll be like, well, we're working on this one, or even with Queens Boulevard, they're like,
Well,
we're
we-
working on
we
this
do
segment.
want them to begin, I think we should say, we do want them to begin with the connection. Because if they began with Roosevelt and then,
Yeah.
we don't leave the gap, we need to build connections.
so with priority put on connecting to existing bike lane infrastructure?
Okay. Sounds good. All in favor?
Maura, you voting? Patricia, you voting? Good, okay, unanimous.
Wait, Patricia, what was your vote?
What was the amendment?
So the amendment, there was one amendment to make sure we're saying it's from Greenpoint Avenue and Roosevelt Avenue. And further amendments to just add the design elements.
So design the toolkit, vertical elements and all safety,
Oh, other than Sharrows.
other than shares.
Yeah, so just clarifying the use of the tool, safety toolkit.
More than
protected bike
Sharrows
lanes.
or something,
Starting with the Brooklyn connection?
yes.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
third friendly amendment, right, to prioritize connections to the existing, bike
Well, but
infrastructure.
particularly with the Brooklyn.
Okay, particularly Brooklyn, got it. My vote is unchanged.
Yes.
Okay, Patricia votes yes as well, so it is unanimous. Thank you very much. I'll bring up a letter based on everything we discussed. Thank you very much. Thank you for presenting and.
The thing that I gather, we are
We still have to.
on the network, Woodside, Sunnyside network is on the agenda for the full board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so are we gonna say, I mean, because we still have the other part of it.
Well, so.
Yeah, they'll ask
so
for our
that-
recommendation.
That motion was only for the Greenpoint Avenue.
Yes, so
right?
that's
So we
why
still have
we need
to
to-
actually.
Yeah.
Have a motion on this one, right?
Mhm.
Just so made, I guess, I don't know, like a motion to support, to formally support the vision proposed,
Vision for Sunnyside
For-
Woodside Network,
Yeah.
prioritizing Woodside south of Queens Boulevard. And, and I would add the term low traffic network, elements and approaches here, as well as the protected bike lanes, because I think, I mean, you're familiar with low traffic network?
Yeah,
I mean, I
Yeah.
think that would be quite,
that's fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like,
Yeah.
I'm still, yeah,
Roz,
let me
there's a
finish
motion on
making
the
my
table. We
motion.
can't
so
have-
I finished making my motion. Alright, so, okay, a motion to write a letter of support for the proposal for a connected Sunnyside Woodside protected bike lane network. With prioritizations for existing gaps in South Sunnyside and in Woodside.
Well, I think you could say not just gaps, because you also had the 43rd.
So do you second the motion? And then we can discuss it?
Oh, seconded.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, discussion.
So it's not just the gaps. I mean, I think the term equity ought to be in there somewhere. That we recognize that these areas, and I think that we really are addressing this to the full board, seeking their support.
So let's add some whereases, whereas the the proposed network incorporates many of the requests in our board priorities or district priority statements. And this would bring safety infrastructure to underserved areas in our district. And would facilitate safer and more environmentally friendly connections to our neighboring districts. Our neighbors, right, in Queens CB1 and Brooklyn CB1 and Queens CB3 and 4.
Yeah, ultimately, well,
Yeah.
going,
Because there's the, yeah, I would accept those for there. Do I have to list them again? Please don't make me.
No, but I think we can summarize. Patricia?
It's all well and good to want all these areas served with protected bike lanes. I understand that, but shouldn't there be a feasible study done by the DOT or someone to see if they are even able to be accomplished? I mean, I'm thinking of 43rd Street coming from Skillman to Northern Boulevard. It's a horrendous road for a bicycle to go across with the turns and going over the what used to be the tracks and all the trucks coming out of the supermarket and
Oh, 42nd place, yeah.
so these things have to be looked at to see if they're even feasible.
I think that's.
Yeah, I think we're just doing the ask to say, let's build this stuff, and then it goes to the agency who does the studies. And we've received plans back that are full protected bike lanes all the way through, and some that are a mix of protected bike lane and shared, you know, even like 39th Avenue has shared lanes and protected bike lanes, and you know, they're the experts and they'll make the plan. We're doing the ask as the people who live here.
Well, then can it be a simple ask? It sounds very delineated.
Yeah, I think we're sussing it out. Here's where I miss Laura Shepherd, because she would always be coming up with her whereases and her full ask. So
I mean, look, the motion is just to support the proposal for a connected, protected bike lane network.
Yeah.
Right, that's what it is, you know,
Well,
and the details can come from the presentation to go into the letter that we sent.
I think one of the things that we have to remember is the reason that DOT managed to get our community board support for the Queens Boulevard protected lanes was they didn't talk about it as protected bike lanes. They talked about narrowing crossing distances for vulnerable pedestrians.
Yeah, a safety improvement project.
And I think we should keep that in mind, that this is about making it safe for all users.
I agree with that, as long as the focus is on continuous corridors, right? The reason Skillman and 43rd Ave, has been so successful is that they are continuous through the district, and we see people from outside of our district using, right? Same thing with Queens
No,
Boulevard.
we don't want cars passing through our district like that. We would fight.
Yeah, well, every, regional bike trip is not a regional car trip, right? And that is what's missing, is there's nothing north-south.
Yeah.
From Astoria to Brooklyn, right?
Yes, but the emphasis on connected is really important. I agree.
And to the point about, like, let's say, 42nd place is a non-starter, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure there's proposals for alternatives. Like, the idea is the vectors of travel, right? North-south from Astoria through Sunnyside to Brooklyn, from Ridgewood to Woodside, from Sunnyside to Jackson Heights, right? That's really the impetus of this network, as I've understood.
But 43rd Street is also, we don't have many connections to Astoria, to northern western Queens. And if that's a connection, then we should certainly ask DOT to finish building the road.
Yes.
So that we can get to Food Bazaar and we can get
I don't
to
see that that's
the new
such an
buildings being
impossible
built.
No, it
road
was
to do.
merely an example, right?
No,
My
but-
point is, like, 48 is another continuous corridor, right? There's options, we have options.
Yeah.
But the point is, we want a single continuous
The
corridor.
board's been asked for some time, anyway.
So, the motion can just cleanly be to support the, proposals within the presentation. And then we can name the actual streets, the avenues within the proposal.
I'll add a single whereas, right, which is whereas this this overlaps with our support for the Greenpoint Avenue study and many of the requests in our statement of needs, their district statement of needs. We support, you know, we write a letter of support for this proposal.
Aye.
Okay.
And we do currently have a letter asking for this particular thing on 39th Avenue. It's been there for about a year and a half.
Yeah,
So it's nice to do it again.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
work.
Great, so that was it. Corey just said it.
So we're talking about just in general, north-south intersections and Woodside, south of Queens Boulevard.
No, the
In
motion is,
general,
the motion is to support the proposal from the presentation, which includes 47th Avenue, 39th Avenue, Greenpoint Avenue, 43rd Street,
Honeywell.
69th Street, Honeywell. And we could name those in it.
Well, the map, you might as well
Yeah.
incorporate the map.
Yeah, that can all happen all at once.
So that's been seconded and any amendments have been taken. So that's it. Did I say it?
Yeah,
Okay.
question, that we said that?
Yeah. I've restated the motion. All in favor?
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
I'm not happy,
So you're not voting, or you opposed or abstaining?
abstain.
How can she abstain? She's gotta have a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to.
I think we had a big
You
discussion.
can always abstain.
No,
Oh, recuse, yeah, she's not. Yeah,
Recusing.
conflict is recusal. She's just abstaining from the vote. You're allowed to do.
And abstaining is a no.
Yes.
No, it's not a no.
No,
It's just
I
not.
feel it's too confusing.
the parliamentarian said it was a no.
Patricia,
Whatever
why don't
you
you ask
want.
for a point of information or a point of clarification, because you should be able to vote and we should make it clear for you.
I mean, the motion carries.
Well, it'd be nice to be anonymous, but it's more that Patricia's abstaining. We can restate the motion.
I find it too general. I would be happier if the decisions were made to DOT to find the adequate cross streets, the north-south transits.
I mean, I would,
It's fine. I'm fine if you want to say it's a no.
well, I mean,
No,
so
it's your choice.
I'm making this proposal under the assumption that the first step of DOT actionizing this plan would be to look at these corridors and determine if they're feasible. If I included that explicitly in my ask, right, and that step was the first step in the process of building eventually a connected protected bike lane network, fill these gaps that are identified by this group. Would that satisfy your concern, or do you want it to only be the study?
It sounds to me as if the roadways were chosen already and they are limited to what is going to be presented to DOT.
So this group has come and proposed some corridors to address specific problems. The problems being what we discussed. North-south travel from Astoria through the district to Brooklyn, et cetera, right? They've offered some potential corridors. And we are supporting this ask that there's a problem, here's a potential solution, please
I
DOT.
just don't want that to be the limit of what it's proposed to DOT. I think.
Okay.
DOT has it.
Or alternate or substitute.
Including, you know, alternate or parallel roadways.
Alternate.
Yeah, anything that they feel is the best, the easiest to
Correct.
make accessible.
Respect them.
I don't want it to be limited to what is offered to them.
Okay,
So these and any other
yeah,
corridors.
these and our
Or an
alternative
equivalent or a
Yeah.
substitute. so-
what's a good phrasing here that's DOT friendly?
Yes.
Yes, I got it.
The question is how you want to phrase how the corridors are chosen?
No, yeah, okay, what we're
So
trying to get at
you
is,
can- You could say, we are looking for north-south connections, preferably on the routes.
okay.
I didn't hear it.
North, south, east, and west.
So, that we'd be, yeah, we're looking for
Like, as an example.
connections along these vectors, or, sorry, I forgot.
Preferably
So,
along these vectors, but
Preferably along these,
starting.
Along these routes, surrounding these corridors.
right. So tired.
Well, here's the thing. It's passed, one abstention.
Yeah,
We could just move on.
it's nice to be unanimous, but, you know.
I know it is, but.
I think it's legitimate.
But then I don't really know the Robert's rules of, we took a
It's
vote,
already voted, yeah.
and now we're trying
That's a good
No,
point.
no,
to, now
you're
we're
right.
trying to discuss it to a different vote.
Yeah, you're right, that's fine.
It's,
Well, the question is what comes up at the full board on Thursday? What form of it? But don't you have some leeway in that you're gonna formulate a letter or a statement which will then become.
Right. yeah, I mean, the board's going to ask how the committee voted, and it passed, with no opposed, one abstention.
Or with one considerate, well,
Yeah,
just phrase it. I think the point is to phrase it that this is, solutions that accomplish these goals.
Yeah, I think it's great.
okay. Hooray.
It's great. It's very good. All right. Thank you so much for presenting to us. I hope that was sufficient, and we'll see you on Thursday. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for your patience, for your presentations.
Thank you.
And all good. So now we're gonna talk to Joe from the DOT and, get some updates. Okay.
This is a very full meeting full of a lot of asks that I'll definitely bring up to the bike team. We have our monthly meetings, so this is definitely a lot of great information to bring back to them about specifically what we want to see in the board. I think it'll be very productive to, have those letters and then talk to them about it.
When's that meeting?
They're monthly. This should be sometime this month. I don't actually know right now.
You haven't already had it.
Yeah, it's second, but not reserved to only that. I still talk to them outside of that anyway. But anyway, I'll get through what's on the agenda for me and the updates I have for certain items. Myself first was a request to change direction to traffic on Bradley and 37th Street between Greenpoint and Star. So DOT's rule for that is that for any direction changes on a street, whether it's a one-way conversion or any kind of change to the direction, we do ask for a letter from the board.
It's going out today.
Got it.
We voted on it last month, and, busy month, slow on getting it out.
Of course.
But it made its lead. So.
Got
So
it.
there, a local business came last month and discussed how trucks are going down Star Avenue
Yeah.
and making a mess. It's often double parked. They're often very big trucks that can't make the turn. They're destroying the signs. The business owner proposed that changing the direction so that anybody coming off Greenpoint will take Bradley
Yeah.
and go all the way down.
Yeah, and I know that was something we did look at for trying to get some no standing zones at the intersection of Star and 37. To help with that turning clearance. And I know that was something we heard from the partnership also, those concerns. But if a traffic direction change is something that we wanted to do, that we'll happily take a look after that late step.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know that other letter was sent for hard protection on the Greenpoint Avenue Bridge. What I know that was submitted so that we'll just be waiting on that investigation, and once they take a look at that, we'll be able to have a more clear answer for that. I believe that the snow truck signage was related to this ask. I know that was an older ask. I think that was because the direction changes happen on 37. I don't believe that it would be the same ask at this point. Yeah, but I know that's something we can continue discussing. What else? I know 43rd, yeah, so 43rd Street, right by the entrance to the Kosciuszko Bridge. So I know that was.
Has there been any updates on green asphalt?
Not that I know, but I can look into that over the course of this month. I know that was a conversation that came up very recently, from both the board and, you know, other stakeholders in the area. And I know the ask was for more, protection along 43rd Street while, on that entrance to the bridge there. So if that is something, I know that, I believe over email, we mentioned that could be another letter that's sent by the board. Because if we were to look for any kind of protection along that path, we would have to look at some of the roadway changes to the area, because I know that highway entrance is 2 lanes currently. And the reason for that is on the service road turning into it, there's 2 turning lanes. So we'd have to look into whether or not the some of the traffic counts for that area. And then it's also, and should we find that it's feasible, we'd have to move on that conversation to the state, because it's a highway entrance ramp. So that's essentially just laying out like how that conversation would go. But I've already gotten the conversation started with our traffic planning team. So we'll definitely keep the conversation about that over the next few months.
Okay, Ross, do you remember the specific ask about the entrance to the Kosciuszko Bridge, Cape Bridge, for pedestrians and bikes?
I don't remember I mean, some of it had to do with lighting also. But,
I mean,
Yeah, that was all about the lighting and that underpass that's super
right,
dark. Even in broad daylight, it's dark.
so lighting is one issue, but also it's just a substandard width, right? Like there's not enough room for 2-way pedestrian and bike travel, and especially with bikes going at speed around a blind turn. I've almost hit people a bunch of times. There's
so
no
wanted,
problem.
I would at least like to see armadillos along the edge of that because it's.
Yeah,
easy
yeah,
to sort of-
it's just a bad situation waiting to happen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and just referencing the lighting, right now, the lights underneath the overpass are being upgraded to LEDs, which is why, there's that outage right now, so. Their, street lighting team's currently working on it.
Can they wait to turn them off before they?
I
replace them?
I don't believe that it was turned off because of that reason, but now that they're out,
Yeah,
like it's, the repair is that they're also gonna be, while they're doing the repairs, they're also gonna be upgrading them. Because of that outage.
Is that, I know we're gonna talk about, where are we? 43rd Street,
there were
Yeah,
43rd
43rd Street,
under,
Yeah. underneath the LA,
okay,
yeah.
the Cape Bridge.
under the LA. Okay, I think because it is the Kosciuszko Bridge, I was in a different area. Yeah, we're talking about the right issue.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, even if that path can't be widened, some kind of fence or something, like if someone falls, they'll fall right into the roadway.
yeah, exactly, and that's why we wanna look into seeing how feasible protection is there.
Okay, good.
So, you know, we would love to see some kind of, you know, not letter from the board for that. Because it does involve a larger conversation with the state, because it's, gonna be the highway infrastructure there.
I mean, even if it were like almost like a wrought iron fence that's up, it can't, the armadillos, much as I love them, would not work because you could still flip over onto the roadway.
So, I mean,
But something is high enough that, I mean,
yeah, we would also look for protection barriers on the road itself.
yeah,
And like I said, the problem is that it's currently 2 lanes right now, so you would
Yeah.
have to look into what would be needed to have a barrier there with one less lane. So,
well, but that's why I'm saying even not a wrought iron fence would not necessarily require that widening, I mean, preferable.
yeah, of course, I mean, sometimes with issues with some of the narrow 2-way paths is that putting that barrier, any kind of barrier on the path itself, on the edge of it, might make the width too narrow. But again, we're looking at all of this.
Or even more too narrow than it already is.
Yeah.
Exactly, as Corey was saying.
so there was some discussion outside at Peninsula Meet. Willis had brought this issue to us. And the idea is what Joe is saying is a letter from us would work the best, so we'll do a motion at the end.
Okay.
So I did want to ask more about this blind spot issue at 46th Street between Dolores, because I don't believe you discussed this already. And I just wanted to know specifically which side of Queen Boulevard, because I think the barriers on both sides.
Maury, I think you could speak to this, but it's it's the subway construction, they
Yeah,
put up
the
a
elevated
fence?
construction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they put up a construction fence that blocks visibility for pedestrians crossing there. Maury, do you know if it's
Yeah,
still?
no,
there?
you said it perfectly. And so because they have I guess they have the fencing and the boards, when you're coming out, you can't see even if you have the green go light for the pedestrians going across the boulevard. If somebody's not paying attention, a car, whatever, you can't even see until you get out into the traffic, into the roadway. So is there a way to put up a mirror or do something so that people can see it and they don't have to walk out into the street before they see that there's a car coming?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can definitely ask our construction management team. They're the ones that, you know, give out the permits for those kind of what we call MPTs, those temporary construction barriers in streets. We might need to talk with the contractors that the MTA is using directly because we've already been working with them from the beginning when they first put up these barriers. So that's definitely a conversation we can have with all of them.
Thanks.
So we have to work very closely with them when we install Queens Boulevard. So we definitely have that relationship already.
Appreciate it.
And I know that I confirmed that we were getting those crosswalks and street marks replaced on Woodside Avenue.
Is that likely to happen before spring now?
I know that it was supposed to be around this week that they would be installing those markers, so I can double check on that.
Okay, well, because I do want to say thank you for those big, broad white lines. I still see people careening through and saying, and the messages to drivers that you must yield to pedestrians in crosswalks without a crosswalk, but.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was confusing why
Language.
it wasn't just made a stop sign. You know,
On which intersection?
39th Avenue and Woodside Avenue, which is.
Yeah,
So if you haven't been there, they put up a sign, yield to or stop for pedestrians,
Yeah.
stop here for pedestrians with a white bar painted on there. But they never painted the rest of it.
Okay.
And it's
So
also
we
not-
appreciate that because it does clear up for drivers exactly what they should do in the presence of a pedestrian and a crosswalk. They should stop for the
Yeah.
pedestrian.
is it?
Yeah.
You're asking why not just a stop sign?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's an enhanced crossing. So you said 39, I'm sorry.
So coming off the bike boulevard on
39th Avenue, Woodside, yeah.
Bike Boulevard. And
Yeah.
particularly the people coming north from the north-south, because they whip around. The people coming the other way from Woodside Ave have more visibility because of that little parklet thing and so
Yeah.
on.
I mean,
Um,
the interesting thing is, right, like further up that corridor, there is a stop sign, right? Like this is a low volume segment of Woodside Avenue. It wouldn't impact flow of the corridor at all to have a stop sign.
Yeah,
Or a
that's-
speed bump on the corridor.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem that we run into with installing stop signs is that because it is low volume. So like if we were to want to install a stop sign, they do have to meet federal guidelines for the volume of the intersection.
So it needs to be high volume to have a stop sign?
If you wanted, let's say, an all-way stop. I mean, I know this is a little bit unique of an intersection because it's not necessarily.
Just
Well,
want them
it
to
wouldn't be all
stop.
way, it'd be a one-way stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Just
that's
people
essentially the
coming.
problem we would run into as well. Like we can, I know it's silly, but we
They're
can
city
add that
controlled
in
roads,
roads.
why do they need federal permission for stop sign?
Well, we go off the federal guidelines for stop signs.
Did you
For
get federal
always.
permission for 39th Avenue Bike Boulevard?
Well, that doesn't, well, that was part of the reason why. We had that diverter at 50th.
Mhm.
And you see how there's no stop controls there.
Right.
Because we don't meet the guidelines for that. I know, it's
Well-
getting into the.
Whoa,
No, that's just like, it's,
Yeah,
Okay, so.
that's very
Um,
interesting to.
What about sort of I mean, I want to sometimes go down there with cinder blocks or something just to extend so that people have to make much more of a right angle turn there, because they literally come right around.
yeah.
Yeah, we
So
were waiting for the
are-
painting to
are all of
see.
them working? Like, or is it just the stop?
Those are two
No,
big.
just the.
Okay,
there's
so-
no markings
We painted the speed bumps.
on Woodside Avenue.
Yeah.
When they
So, like,
installed the speed
If the
bump.
crosswalk is missing, then we'll work to get that addressed. If
Yeah.
it's just the stopper, which I'm surprised that would only be.
Well, I mean, we're talking about a crosswalk. There's a crosswalk across 39th Ave, but there isn't a crosswalk from 39th Ave over to Woodside Ave.
Yeah.
And in fact, you've got potentially two crosswalks that way.
Yeah,
And that's big because there's loads of kids going to this public school down there. So the people frequently are crossing.
Yeah, there seems
There,
to
or if they
be,
think about it, they go down to where the light is.
I don't know what the challenge was this year, but this got milled a long time ago. It got repaved months ago. And the painting team never showed up, and school season started, and there's several schools and parks and libraries in this area. And now it's dark out at 4 p.m. And all of Woodside Avenue, this major stretch, has no crosswalks. So,
yeah,
and then I had emailed with you about a crosswalk that I had noted on Northern Boulevard in February was gonna be added to the painting schedule. And now we're in December at the end of painting season and it hasn't been done.
Yeah.
And you said it's on schedule for next year. Is there something going on? Have they lost your paint supplier?
I would have to look into more myself. I mean, I do hear you. I know that there's a lot of locations that got unaddressed, and I need to find out the actual reason myself, because it seems like there was a bit of either a backlog or like some kind of resource issue this year, with getting all those addressed, because they normally should be repaid within a few weeks after they're repaid.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
for people who live daily lives on a street corner, this is a major issue.
Yeah.
You know, and the DOT needs to take it seriously. Our kids cross these streets to go to their schools, and when there's no crosswalk, like, we're asking for more safety improvements, and this wouldn't have been taken away.
Yeah.
So I don't just write it off, just go to your team and say, what's going on? The community board wants to know, why aren't we repainting the
I
streets?
feel the same as you. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, no, and you know, you're not on every street, so you don't
Now you
know.
can blame us.
Yeah, tell them, we're pushing.
Yeah, exactly.
We're also worried that, you know, it's 19 degrees next week and painting season's probably over.
Mm.
So, yeah, and
I gotta go,
speak to
I
what,
gotta go take a look myself.
yeah, and just to speak to what Roz was saying about that area, it could have used a much shorter crossing. And so in this repainting, we were hoping that after we had spoken to you about needing safety improvements on this street, that it might have gotten a shorter crossing, but it looks like it's not a shorter crossing. And then we lost the truffle paint on the other side. So I don't know if that's coming back.
If a stop sign is out of the question because of some weird federal stuff, like there's already a speed hump on the corridor. Could you put a speed hump at the approach to the stop bar?
At the approach, I mean, we could look to put it on.
Like,
the
yeah,
finish line,
like
yeah.
exactly there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be, you know, a certain amount of feet from the intersection, but we can also look into that.
Okay, yeah. If that's more doable, that would achieve the same outcome, so. it'd be
Yeah.
fine.
So we can definitely look. Okay. And that's on Woodside itself, right?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
I do have a photo of the big line. Ah, there it is. Okay,
That would be helpful.
so, yeah, you want me to send it to you? There's two photos in slide one, maybe. It's just a big broad white line. And then and that's the sign, you know,
Yeah.
stop here, the pedestrians. That's all it says. And then, whoops. That one, and that shows it the other way. And
Oh, sorry.
so I'll send those two to you.
Yeah, looks like they were doing that work as you did that there.
Oh, they were, that was, yeah, I was so thrilled. I walked my dog there every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah,
Um,
it seems like they are in the middle of getting the rest of those markings in, but
October 15th. Yes, they were there.
The next item in Woodside, Queens Boulevard and 65th Street, just to be clear, that's where that jitney always is. Patricia brought it up
yeah,
last month, Holiday Inn. But there's also like always a lot of parked cars in that travel lane approaching the expressway.
yeah, so I know that that's that one area where the single service road lane comes up to the curb and then that other one from the main road becomes a second lane. So I noticed that it was missing the lane markings there, so I did put in a service request to get those replaced. So people kind of know that that curbside area is a travel lane, like if they see those lane markings. So if you want to take down the service request number, sure. It's 311-254-008-94. And I also let the marketing team know about that. So that would be a good first step to actually, delineate the road properly. Because those signs are there, but it's kind of easy to ignore when you think it's just a curbside lane. Especially with all the hotel activity that's there.
Yeah.
You know, can I talk
Joe,
to that?
I'll send you those pictures.
I can give you ours real quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Patricia, you have something to say?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to that. You know, if you put those lane lines in, that's good, but it's not gonna stop the jitney from being there if it's going to take the hotel residents. And the other day there was a livery cab waiting for somebody also, so they may see the lane. I noticed that there was a no standing sign. I'm thinking maybe if that no standing sign was moved further down, that would give the jitney space to stay so that at least the cars coming out of the main roadway would have room not to crash into the car that's in the driving lane.
Yeah,
I mean, but it's not stopping the people from parking in front of the, I don't know what's gonna happen about that. Plus you have the fire engines right next door, so it could get real crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough spot, and when I put this note in, I know like a lot of this is enforcement, but if it can be clear that it's a travel lane and not a standing zone,
Yeah,
so maybe moving the sign can help as well.
yeah, if they move that, maybe the jitney will move up further. I don't know. It's a bad place.
Yeah, definitely take a closer look on the exact sign placement too.
Thank you.
Quickly for the rest.
If you just want to specify, so. To revisiting that intersection, 39th and Woodside.
Yeah.
The request would be for basically a raised intersection, right? Like a raised crosswalk. Not even a raised crosswalk.
You said speed bump. You
Yeah,
want
yeah,
raised
yeah.
crosswalk?
Like, as you said, we could do it at the crossing.
I mean, yeah, I was imagining like a speed bump approaching the crossing, not the actual crossing.
Okay.
I mean, you can request a raised crosswalk.
Is
I will
that-
say not too many are constructed each year, because it's a fairly new thing in our toolkit.
Connected to Bike Boulevard.
What?
It's connected to Bike Boulevard, it's already.
I agree. So no,
Or-
I'm with you, I'm with you. And I will say, like I've said before in other meetings, is that the entire Woodside Ave corridor up to, up 39, underneath the train trestle over there. That's also an area we want to look at for safety performance more broadly.
Okay.
From that I've seen want to look at.
So maybe both could be considered. Once.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we can look at like the standard speed hump. And, if they want to make a request for a raised crosswalk, I'd say go for it.
Okay, but that would be a formal request.
Yeah.
So.
It would be a formal request on its own. And it's just because there's a lot more engineering that goes into it, a lot more studying that's really go into it than a regular speed.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's just laying it out for you, but not to discourage you at all.
Yeah.
So,
That's good to know the correct procedure for it.
yeah. So. Just a few more left, updates that I have, just an update, for this request for further down for an always stop or speed hump. And this is the 50th Avenue, between 65th Place and 60th Street. That was not denied. I think that was denied, and I think that was an older case as well. So just giving an update on that. And going a few more rows down, the request for horse and bike lane protection on Northern Boulevard between 51st and Broadway. And that's by that new school. And I have gone by there recently, and we have installed Jersey barriers along that stretch in front of the school.
Yeah,
So that should directly address the concerns.
we threw out our appreciation last month or so, or maybe 2 months ago.
Got it.
We wanted to say thank you for that. It looks great.
I'm glad that
Sure,
that
it's
one
working
was
great.
good. I know that was a very big deal, like with the school opening imminently, so
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that happen. And the last thing I'll mention is that I know that there's the concern on was it the bike path approaching Queens Plaza, along Queens Boulevard Bridge over Sunnyside Yards. We recently gave a response to the board about what we're doing to monitor that area. One of the things we are doing is that bus stop there is being relocated to kind of reduce all the conflicts that are happening in that one pinch point. And we're gonna continue to work with buildings, and the area stakeholders to, try to make this as bearable as we can, because I know it's a very bad pinch point there.
It's really those weird plastic speed bumps have to go. They're just not safe. And they're non-standard. I've never seen them anywhere else in the city.
Yeah, because that was put up by the actual contractor.
Right.
Yeah.
Literally everyone I know that uses that despises those and have talked about taking the jackhammer themselves. Like, it's not good. It's terrible. So like, even like the thermoplastic, like the normal way they do speed bumps, like, sure, that's like, do something that's in the toolkit. Like this reinventing the wheel thing for this one spot is like creating all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had sent letters last month about that in particular, and then to study the traffic there and consider whether a new lane needs to be made to accommodate bikes.
Yeah.
Because this construction will last for 2 years or more. And even when it's done, it's still a pinch point with a subway station right there.
Yeah, it's just whatever the radius is on those bumps, like it causes the bikes to bounce, like novice riders lose control there. It's just a really, really.
Even
unsafe
this
situation.
experienced
Yeah.
rider, the first time I went over it and it was like, oh my gosh, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, like, and then you avoid using the infrastructure that DOT so painstakingly made for us.
Well, the contract.
And then you see people swerving around it, avoiding it.
Yeah.
And that's no good when it's such a tight pedestrian bike lane, to have people swerving or avoid things.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's definitely helpful, especially with the conversation we've been having. So I'll definitely bring that back.
Thank you.
And let them know, hey, people are gonna fall off their bikes. Yeah, and that's all for me.
Queensboro Bridge pavement markings.
Yeah, don't worry, I remind the team very regularly that it's an issue. And it will be addressed, not being forgotten, promise. So hopefully we will get some more good news on that. Okay.
Has DOT painted those at all? The Queensboro Bridge bike lane?
I would have to check to what I know. I don't believe so.
Because somebody did.
Somebody did.
No, somebody
There's
did, yes,
somebody-
we have a gorilla paint.
Yeah,
so
somebody
that
DIY
actually-
painted those, and I think it's much appreciated by everybody.
Yeah.
But it shows the frustration,
Yeah,
again, that the city doesn't have
But
paint.
you know something interesting on the Williamsburg Bridge bike lane? They still have pedestrian, they haven't done anything about them there either.
I didn't, that,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's
The
what
Willie
that
Bee
is,
is also a nightmare, but we don't.
well, but they didn't,
Come to CB1 tomorrow. Come to Brooklyn CB1 tomorrow. We'll trade. We'll do this all the time. Wouldn't that be nice?
We love having these conversations.
But just because, now it's December, we haven't seen you for a couple months, and this bike lane was made in May. And now it's December, and now we know it's not gonna get painted for the entire winter until next May. That's a year without markings on, a major roadway for cyclists. And we're grateful to that guerrilla painter for actually demarcating that there's no pedestrians allowed there, and maybe there are fewer pedestrians now. But we're trying to move the city ahead. We're trying to ask the DOT and the city for things that we need to stay safe, and it's frustrating when it takes a year.
I'm with you on that.
Okay, thank you. Just so bring it back to the team, that this is how this committee feels and how the district feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think I've asked previously about studying, an all, what do you call it? Like a pedestrian scramble, a barns dance at 44th Street and Greenpoint Avenue. Has that made it into the system? I don't ever see it on here, so I don't know if it actually gets recorded here.
I'll have to double check. I think the last I looked at it, I think it's stated that there is already an LPI there. So I don't know if there's gonna be any changes to that, but that intersection, I know we are looking at other things way more long term for what we can do.
But they just
so-
reconstructed all of the corners, like.
Yeah, I saw that
So,
they.
Nothing's gonna change in my lifetime, apparently.
Yeah, that's happening on a completely separate track. That was just the standard head ramp upgrades that we're doing across the city. So that just happened to come to that intersection at this time.
Okay.
And again, we are definitely gonna look at what we can do for this intersection more long term because it is, like you said, insanely complicated.
Yeah.
So. Again, our public realm team is actually taking a look at the intersection.
Okay, great.
And we're gonna see what type of options we have for that.
Good.
Make, the crossing a little more bearable then.
Busy intersection, grocery store.
Or,
All right, I want to wrap things up pretty quickly. Any questions for Joe?
Can I formally request the raised intersection?
Sure.
All right, motion to request a raised intersection at 39. At the intersection, on Woodside
Raised
Ave,
crosswalk
a raised,
or entire intersection.
no, you're right, it's just so late, okay. Motion to request DOT install a raised crosswalk at 39th Avenue crossing Woodside Avenue.
But the north side of 39th Ave, not the
Yes.
south,
Yes,
because that's where most people are gonna come.
right.
Go to the schools.
Friendly.
Which
amendment.
serves.
you have to second the motion.
Second, did I second it?
You did now.
Discussion?
Friendly amendment to specify the northern leg of that intersection accepted. Is that the northern leg? It's not the southern leg. isn't it?
Yes, not.
Oh,
It's the
Oh.
northern.
Northern is approaching
We're
Northern
not
Boulevard.
talking- Are we, I mean, the problem is the people coming down from the north and they've got to, by having it raised
Yeah.
there, going across and the kids
frankly,
going to.
it doesn't
school.
matter to me which leg, as long as the car stops, so. I'm fine.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that if you, I mean, the other part across 39th Ave is not gonna serve much
No,
purpose.
come up 39th Ave, Woodside Ave's here, there's
Mhm.
essentially two legs that could be raised, right? Are you talking about the one closer to the underpass or the one closer to the park?
Close to the park.
That would be the
because-
southern leg.
Yeah, because the other one has a stoplight.
Okay,
there. I
so
mean,
we're-
it's weird the way the stoplight
Right,
works.
so
because
we're,
You tell the cars to turn and that's just when the kids are crossing too.
okay,
I don't know.
so the friendly amendment is to specify the southern leg of that crossing.
Well, the northern side of 39th
No, that's,
Ave, it's the northern side of 30, it's the southern section, that particular, he's got the pictures.
Yeah. So you're talking about the bike boulevard. There are two
Oh, the bike
crosswalks
boulevard,
there.
yeah.
You want the one closest to Northern Boulevard, not the one closest to Doughboy Park.
That's correct, yeah.
And you want the one closest to Doughboy Park.
yeah, but also
not
I
the one
don't care
closest-
that much.
Why not both?
Well,
You got two
Because
lots.
it's traffic coming from two directions. It's not like they're, well, one.
Oh,
one-
you're right, though, it is two right there. Yeah, okay, so yeah, look, I would rather just have both. Or to have DOT study it and determine the best location
yes,
for it.
that's right. But at least I mean, the real problem that I see day in, day out is the people that whip around that corner.
Yes, I agree.
That the ones coming from the south can see. That doesn't, it's not nearly so much of a problem. I mean, even truffle paint in there.
Yeah.
Could do something.
Well, that's
to-
what I'm saying, a shorter crossing there, because
Yeah.
unpainted, you see, it's like a skating rink. It's huge. It's this giant area.
Okay.
That is really just,
Okay, so I'm gonna change the proposal, right? We should ask DOT to install more significant pedestrian safety elements, especially including consideration of a raised crosswalk at 39th Avenue crossing Woodside Avenue.
seconded. You're on second.
You're second.
I'll second that,
Okay.
yeah.
All in
Great,
favor?
all in favor? Hello? All
We
right.
lost
and
Maury,
we lost,
so two abstentions.
we lost Maury and Randy. But I think we still have a,
Well, it's only if somebody asks if we have a quorum.
All right,
is that true?
You can write a letter on behalf
so it's
of the committee,
4 in favor and 2 or 3 abstentions?
or at least the chairs.
Well, or non-voting, just NVs,
Yeah.
Oh,
because they aren't here.
Okay.
Okay, motion raised crosswalk. I would like to make a motion for, separated protection between the, bike and pedestrian lane and the automobile travel lane underneath the Long Island Expressway on 43rd Street, approaching, the Kosciuszko Bridge. Is that clear?
Say it again.
Um, protected separation between the bike lane and pedestrian lane and
Shared use
the
path.
automobile, the shared use path and the automobile travel lane. To,
Some physical barriers.
physical barriers.
Physical barrier at, I mean, without necessarily making it any wider. or-
Seconded.
Okay, thank you. Discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, it's clear?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I mean, as you say, sometimes people who are coming down off of that funny zigzaggy thing, bikers, and then they're whipping around the corner. You know, I mean, I don't know, there's not much potential for daylighting there, but, that I don't think that, I'm not as worried about that as people lurching into traffic.
Well, so that's the issue, right? Like, without reconstructing the entire underpass, you're not gonna add space.
Yeah.
And it's unlikely that NISDOT would sign off on reducing, two-way travel. So. I don't know, but I think an easier solution, at least to address the real concern that a cyclist or a pedestrian could fall off the curb and into the roadway
Yes.
because of that conflict, that a vertical barrier of some kind.
Yeah, I think that's
desirable.
the substance of what you're proposing. I think that's absolutely at bare minimum.
Yeah, that was it.
Cool.
All right, so a motion to write a letter to request. Is a
Letter to DOT.
vertical separation.
Yeah.
To state and city DOT.
Oh,
Vertical
because
separation,
it's a state.
yeah. Between the shared use pedestrian bike lane and automobile travel lane
That's the location.
under the Long Island Expressway
At 43rd
at
Street.
43rd Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Right, it's unanimous for those here. Great, anybody else? We
Well,
covered
we
everything.
maybe-
Sometimes we get away without covering everything. I think that's it. Seconded the motion to adjourn. Discussion?
Gloria said-
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm sorry that was a long one. We had a lot of presentations and a lot of catching up to do.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for
Much
coming.
appreciated.
Yeah.
Kevin, you still out of the way?
Oh, sorry.
First, my gratitude to the district office for sticking with us.